Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the World SemiFinals. GenG versus KT. Can BDD do it once again? Because in the LCK playoffs, to qualify for Worlds, he took a fat dookie on Chovy. But Chovy looks kind of fucking good now. So let's see, will KT do the unexpected, or will GenG just do what's normally supposed to happen?
Especially looked so fantastic in that series, and it's something that you can't really afford to underestimate.
Yeah, and I think that they used some special picks as well. That was key, and we've seen them repeat, the Zoe plus the Ziggs combo. That was huge. Then we also had the Nocturne when they were able to use it versus GenG to find their win there. I also thought the Lissandra game, they got so much damage out of the Lissandra passive, choosing the areas that they fight in and then clumping up inside Dragon Pit. A lot of value there from the choices that they made in Champ Select, in addition to how they played on the Rift.
Yeah, for me, BDD has consistently been stellar, even when the rest of KT have just been okay. In that GenG series, though, it was really Cuz for me that absolutely stood up. Occasionally, he has some of these games where he just looks like one of the best junglers in the world. And I'm glad you brought up those picks, too, because we saw it with the Viego, which is another favorite of his, and then the Nocturne domestically.
Yeah, and Cuz, it felt like he had really mapped out so much of what GenG wanted to do.
Yeah.
And so that's why they were kind of able to stay a step ahead a lot and put a lot of pressure onto Canyon. Straight out of game number 1 with the Jarvan, going for the invade, working around the ward that they saw GenG place, and really starting and then keeping up that snowball.
Yeah, I do think when I'm listening to you guys, I want to believe you, but it seems like you're mentioning a lot of things that have to be picture perfect and that have to be career best performance. And not just career best performance anywhere, career best performance for everyone on the world stage in a semifinal. And that's why I find it difficult to believe.
Yeah, and I mean, it was difficult to believe domestically,
when
right? Because we saw all of the playoff predictions from the LCK broadcast. No one predicted KT in that matchup.
And Jonah Strong, surely that should have been the red flag, because normally he's the one who's always finding the angles, always looking for the creative options, but this is so incredibly one-sided, and rightfully so. Rightfully so, but it didn't matter.
Yeah. At that point, of course, that's the normal prediction, and that's what you're thinking. I still think that is true today, by the way. A little bit of a spoiler, but they are still so heavily favored.
Yeah, they are so heavily favored, and I think I want to go back to that seed we planted a little earlier. They are so heavily favored. Everyone thinks they're going to win. Everyone thinks they're going to win, specifically today. I felt exactly the same last year. I felt exactly the same in years past. So what is making the difference?
What's going to make the difference for KT?
For GenG.
I think GenG are going to win.
I just set it up saying that they didn't win last year, didn't they?
I think the difference
they didn't win the year before.
They have a team that is so well set up around the players they have. Canyon has Duro, who is happy to play that role of that pseudo jungler. They've got Keen, who's super dominant on the top side, and it feels like everyone has just been much, much more consistent. Last year, we did see some oopsies. We did see some bad games. Even when they won MSI, there were cracks in the game plan. Now it feels like no team can even touch them when it comes to moving around the map, and even if they can match some of the individual positions, they can't match every single one.
It seems that they even get away with playing drafts that you wouldn't give to any other team, but they roll over the opponents. We already teased with the LCK predictions from a while ago, and I'd love to see what our predictions are from the desk, but everyone we asked, and if it'll be the same story. No!
Whoa, okay.
All right, I have some questions for
what is
certain
over
people
there,
on this
Dracos, Azael.
Yeah.
Well, we'll hear Azael's point of view later, but Dracos.
Okay, so you'll agree with me, and I know you all will, that every rational piece of evidence points to GenG winning this.
Yes.
But it did last time too, and I think the thing that people don't appreciate about KT is sometimes you need to understand that the irrational is what matters to this team. I don't know if it's the primordial force of every KT fan doubting them more than I ever could, but I feel like it might be on the cards. So sometimes, because GenG should win this, it is the correct result. Sometimes in the pursuit of that result, you gotta make an incorrect position, because I am excited. KT forever, BDD and Cuz are winning Worlds. They're the greatest team we've ever seen. Easy 3-0.
Wow, that was terrible. I I had a visceral, internal reaction. So I think GenG are gonna take it, honestly. The last time they met Dracos, actually, it was a crushing GenG 3-0.
She's looking him in the eyes.
It was not that upper bracket upset. And I gave them a game because I do think KT have been performing a little bit better. But I do think this GenG team is just much stronger.
Yeah, I think this KT Rollster Coaster, it actually stops here, and it is going to be at the hands of GenG. They're going to repeat, and they are going to win this time.
And I think if they're the pedigree of a team like T1, you give them the plot armor, you believe a little bit more. But KT is a team with reverse plot armor. It feels like the odds are perpetually stacked against them. This is for sure a 3-0. If you take out all superstition, it should be a GenG clean sweep.
Yes, but this is Worlds, and crazier things have happened at Worlds, so I like that we're entertaining the idea for all the KT fans around the world who have been waiting for this moment for their team, if they can make it happen. But on the other side, we have GenG and we have Chovy. He has his eyes set on the World Championship trophy and on those grand finals. But at Worlds, you got to step up and take it, or will we see the KT roller coaster ride of all time? Let's get into our semifinal.
春兰、夏竹、秋菊、冬梅，人称四君子，德心是所真。GenG。春兰于深谷中盛放，静自芳香。
제가 생각하는 가장 아름다운 룰은 사람들이 눈치채기 힘든 디테일인 것 같아요. 사람들이 알아채기 어려운 디테일일수록 그걸 플레이하는 선수는 정말 많은 생각과 심리전을 섞으면서 하고 있다고 생각하기 때문이에요. 작년에 월즈에 떨어지고 나서 월즈 경기들을 보는데 이대로 아무것도 안 하면 진다라는 생각으로 무언가를 만들어내려는 그 움직임이 눈에 가장 인상 깊게 새겨졌던 것 같아요. 그 깨달음을 얻고 더 이상 아무것도 두렵지 않습니다.
4강전을 정말 많이 왔어요. 21년, 22년, 23년 이렇게. 근데 늘 넘어졌어요. 그런 실수를 어떻게 안 하려고 생각했냐면 초심으로 돌아가는 게 정답이었던 것 같습니다.
完美与谦逊集于一身者，即为主宰。季中冠军赛冠军，几近不败的传说，直至棋逢对手，将他们逼至绝境。KT、秋菊于西风中独立，铁骨金霜。
룰러 선수와 인연이 되게 깊은 것 같아요. 17년도에는 상대로 만나서 제가 지고 20년도와 21년도에는 동료로서 경기에서 또 지고 23년도에는 상대로 만나서 제가 또 지고 올해는 또 이렇게 만나게 됩니다.
孤星之光，难破长夜。
승부욕이 좀 세서 보통 포기를 안 하는 것 같은데 이 게임 자체로는 제가 자신감이 있어가지고 더욱더 포기가 안 되는 것 같아요.
但众星齐聚，长天竞耀。
사실 그때 굉장히 좀 진 게 충격적이었고요. 질 거라고 전혀 생각하지 않았는데 좀 다시 마음을 다잡는 그런 계기가 됐던 것 같습니다.
제가 생각하는 완벽한 룰은 선수 개개인 다 같이 각자 역할을 잘 수행했을 때 나오는 그 시너지가 롤이라고 생각합니다. 겐지가 저희와의 경기에서 되게 잃을 게 많다고 느끼는데 떠덕의 반란 보여드리겠습니다. (21년도에) 제가 젠지를 떠나고 초비 선수가 제 자리에 들어오게 됐는데 당시에는 받아들이기가 쉽지 않았는데 결국에 제가 할 수 있는 거는 제 실력을 보여주는 것밖에 없었던 것 같습니다.
天际已不遥远。
항상 그래왔던 것처럼 제 길을 꿋꿋이 걸어나가겠습니다.
월드 우승과 함께 만족스러운 경기력까지 보이겠습니다.
银汉迢迢，紫薇熠熠，摘星必在此行。只有一方可冲破天幕，直至星河。
꿈은 언젠가는 이루어집니다.
BDD 선수 꿈 깨시길 바랍니다.
"全球的英雄联盟粉丝们，大家好，欢迎来到上海梅赛德斯奔驰文化中心，一起见证2025全球总决赛半决赛。今晚只有一支队伍能够拿到通往成都的门票，登上总决赛的舞台。上海，让我们热烈欢呼，迎接首场4强对决，GenG对阵KT。
Welcome back to Worlds 2025, where we are here for the first of 2 semi-finals over the next 48 hours. I'm Medic, I'm joined by Chronicler and Azael to lead you through this battle of the LCK Legend group as KT take on GenG.
I cannot believe that we are here for one of these teams. This is not even enough. For GenG, all that they want, all that they've talked about all year, despite their domestic success, despite the MSI trophy, they need not just a win here today, they're already looking forward, I imagine, but KT, their story might not end here today, but the fact that they're here in the first place in semis is insane, given the ups and downs of the roller coaster.
I mean, given the expectations, they weren't even supposed to be at Worlds, right?
No.
You know, people didn't think they would actually make it. And their greatest moment was won against GenG. You know, the qualification to Worlds, being able to win this improbable match, I think really does have a bit of a poetic, you know, kind of to it. You know, how beautiful that is, that they now have this opportunity to really prove themselves here once again and to pull off what would be a colossal upset and just continue this great story that KT have already had.
That's the question for KT, isn't it? Can you rekindle that flame? Can you find that moment once again to take down GenG like you did to make it here to Worlds? For GenG, you've won MSI 2 times back-to-back. You have been the presumptive champion of Worlds for the last couple of years, and now you have to prove that you can take that next step, because it's been 8 years since GenG made it to a finals.
And I am left wondering what we're going to see here, because there are parts of this KT journey that make you reminisce of 2022, a DRX roster that up until the very end was doubted, was not believed in by many people, me included. And KT Today they have the opportunity to show whether they can take down GenG again. We all saw that graphic at the beginning. They won one series, and I was there, and it was a banger. But can they replicate that?
I mean, that is the question on everyone's mind. And, you know, all jokes aside, GenG is a massive favorite, right? You know, that I think is undeniable. But I will say for KT, both Perfect and Peter have played better at Worlds than I expected. KT is on a 7-0 run. They have not dropped a single game. Yes, you can talk about the strength of the competition. Yes, you can talk about the fact that they haven't played someone of GenG's caliber. But I still do kind of get that inkling of hope watching this KT team. You know, they couldn't really have done much more up to this point. They've been perfect.
Because of the that's the top laner actually, so come on. Sorry, we have to get that one out of the way. I've fallen for that one about a million times. I don't like it, but we are here at the LCK versus LCK matchup, so...
Ballpark's looking bigger today. Put in some new seats, I think.
Just a little bit.
Let's get on to draft for game one of this best of 5. Hopefully we get to see all 5 games played today. Azir, Yanara, and Xin Chao banned away by GenG. Wukong and Orianna taken out by KT.
And we, I think, are going to see a big focus here today on both supports. I, for one, having casted these guys back in the Challenger days, still can't truly believe that we are about to watch a World Semi-Finals. Both these players have had their ups and downs on different rosters. Peter on Nongshim, Duro on GenG. And I wouldn't be surprised if we're seeing Pry on that Nico, because Peter has been absolutely lethal on that. But instead, it's going to be the respect towards BDD with the early pickup of the Taliyah.
So it will be Taliyah. The Galio ban to me was interesting because that's trying to open the door for Rumble, you know, very likely. Or, you know, some of these combos like the Galio Jarvan. But I am expecting with that, you're giving over the Rumble. So clearly GenG had to know that that was going to be happening. And still they do just choose Taliyah because you're giving over two of the strongest AP champions really in the game right now in Nico and Rumble. Of course, there are a lot of comfortable tank answers up on the top side. Sion is unbanned, kind of conspicuously absent thus far. But, you know, Trundle is available. Some of those answers that people have to make it more palatable are there.
And the Galio, not only into the Rumble, but also just because it has been permabanned against Chovy for the longest time. If you can get 2 champions, though, without really asking for any bans, it would be these two for Perfect and Peter. I think even when Perfect was struggling, his Rumble has always been great. And there was a large period throughout this year where Peter was just straight up the best Nico. Even when KT wasn't necessarily in the best form, was many times banned against him. We're going to see Canyon's Fight at Fight. Taliyah as a combo that we've been seeing for the entirety of the year. Guaranteed lockdown and a lot of ability to set up plays.
Just so powerful. The ability to catch out one player really easily. Add on something like a Corki that can Valkyrie in for the follow-up, can land those missiles. GenG have a huge amount of burst already coming out from this comp. If I'm KT, though, I'm very happy with these first 2 picks. And I think for KT, finding comfort in game 1 and maybe being able to pick up that first game actually starts that snowball rolling. It's when you're against GenG. Okay, it's a Yone for BDD.
And BDD was on the receiving end of one of the most insane 1v9 performances I've seen from Chovy against him on this Yone specifically. So not only does he pick it away, and is this a huge show of confidence for the man that has been stalwart in the mid lane all year, but it also is a pick away because we are of course playing in Fearless, and this is something that GenG even used very recently in their last series to pick up a win.
And I just think so far the red side draft looking really, really good for KT. You know, not only do you get a lot of these power picks, you already have mid lane counter. You can throw down some protection bands up towards top side if you're worried about things, you know, like the Ornn or the Sion or whatever. So I do really like what they're doing so far in draft.
Would expect an Aurora ban here. That is something that Keen has gone towards often into the Rumble. And with the Vi and Corki already, there's plenty of AD damage there. There is the one thing I do worry about for KT is the early laning prio. In many of the matchups between these two teams, it's been a lot about who can get off to a good start. And it's going to be the Alistar instead, so paying the respect to Duro.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Rumble should give you some prio. You're expecting, as long as you have a strong AD pairing on the bot side, that Nico is going to help to give you prio down there as well. Clearly, GenG targeting some of the safer AD carries will be interesting to see. You know, what else they want to take away. A lot of the kind of safe targets have been things like Ezreal, like Saya, like Jhin. We'll see if they really are concerned about some of these picks from Docdom and want to make him more vulnerable to this obvious dive that they are going for.
Going to get rid of the Civet, although Canyon has shown us that he can smite the spell shield out of midair with that Lee Sin play that he's so well known for. Here, deciding doesn't want to have to do that if he goes in with the cease and desist. So, KT, where are we looking? Jungle, very likely on this pick. Could go AD carry and save the jungle for final pick as well.
And Cuz has had his fair share of iconic champions. The Sejuani is one you might look towards specifically because you're playing with the Yone.
Yeah.
That is a combo that we have seen many a time. Yeah, the Sivir, I think, is just very solid into Corki as well. Actually, one of the few champions that can do solid in that 2v2 matchup. Just going to be the Jarvan, though. I don't love the Jarvan into the Taliyah Corki combo, but it is obviously a lot of comfort, and the combination with the Rumble is quite strong.
Yeah, good combination with the Rumble. Obviously, you need an AD jungler here when you do have already the Rumble. You don't want to be, too heavy on the AP. And I'm just kind of curious to see, are they going to try to go lane dominant for KT? They were picking a lot of Caitlyn early on, and Caitlyn is still up and available if they want to try to play for a really dominant lane 2v2. You could go Caitlyn Nico. Something that you talked about, is that lane priority and how that has been so key in their matchups.
Keen going to look for the Jace in the top lane, answering fire with fire. Trying to push that Rumble back. Can, of course, work in a lane swap as well, which we have been seeing. AD carries going up towards that top side. Instead, the Ambessa, the hover for Keen. And in the end, he'll go towards the Sion.
This is more what I was thinking, kind of just assuming, like I touched on earlier, Sion or Ornn are kind of the obvious answers. Generally, people do just like playing a lot of these neutralizing picks into the Rumble. Once you have Kanik, all of a sudden you're not really taking damage anymore. But of course, the fact that the Yone can be in the side lane later on does make that a little bit less valuable. It's not like it is a standard control mage mid lane.
Looking towards maybe Kai'Sa here for
I like
Dukdam.
Caitlyn.
Yeah, Kate, I think, is a lot stronger when it comes to the, as you already highlighted, Azil, when it comes to the pure lane. So wouldn't be surprised to see Dukdam pick that one up, and it will be locked in.
Yeah, I mean, it just makes a lot of sense when you're talking about how a lot of these series between GenG and KT have been decided in lane, right? So draft for some early prio. You do have a really strong dive and team fight here with really everyone except the Caitlyn. You have pushing power on the bot side. You have pushing power in the top side. Yone, you're not expecting to get pushed against the Taliyah, but still, that's a lot of lanes that are going to have some prio, which is going to open up opportunities for Cuz, because we know when we look at the one series that KT did win against GenG, it was a lot off of Cuz and BDD having these heroic performances, and being able to be enabled just feels so critical.
When I look at the early game for GenG, that is just going to be the mid-jungle duo, right? So there's a lot of pressure being put here onto Canyon and Chovy. Chovy, with the Taliyah, has a lot of ability to impact those side lanes. And I'm also going to wonder how much space is Duro going to get, because in this 2v2, that is going to be, as we highlighted, the lane that is going to be very hard to get out of. We could maybe be seeing some swaps happening, but if that's not the case and Duro's locked in lane, Canyon has been better at Worlds, but still isn't the jungler what you go to first when you think of having the highest level of early impact.
Absolutely, and I mean, they could obviously, as you're saying, swap Sion down towards bot, but if Dukdam then matches, if they get wind of this, we have seen that exact lane swap matchup play out where Caitlyn can dominate in the 1v1, so that can be a difficult 1v1 if Caitlyn goes top and actually matches the Corki. So level 1 feels pretty important here already.
Let's get on to the Rift. The champions-elect versus the Cinderella story as GenG take on KT roster in this best of 5. A spot in Chengdu awaits the victor. It's either T1 or top esports. For GenG, it would be the culmination of a story long told. The culmination of aspirations and dreams, expectations over the last couple of years. For KT, truly is something out of a fairy tale, a storybook, you have to say. Similar to that DRX run back just a few years ago.
I mean, there's just so much. Unfortunately, I'm hoping that we'll have the time to go into it because, of course, sometimes I don't want to enforce that idea, but sometimes LCK versus LCK can be a little bit slow. But there is the Canyon and Dukdam who used to be in the same team. DK that didn't really was able to make the mark that they were hoping for. We have BDD, who after he was replaced by Chovy had what I think is the worst year of his career. Not necessarily just to him, but that Nongshim roster was really prone to underperformance, was a really tough bounce back. And again, the fact that the expectations on KT were really not high. They barely squeaked into the Legend group going way back. It was really up between them and DK and Nongshim for who would be that eventual 4th seed towards Worlds.
And I think a lot of us were surprised with how well KT have done after coming into Worlds. Their roller coaster keeps climbing up and up and up. Only team so far undefeated across the 2025 World Championship.
Yeah, and you just have to wonder, how far can they go, right? Of course, people are coming in here and they say, it's GenG, you're going to get smacked, it's going to be a sweep, but I feel like KT fans just need something to hang their hats on, right? You get a little bit of momentum in this first game, and I feel like people want to believe in that story. They want to believe in the underdog. It's such a fun thing to cheer for. This team that is constantly overlooked, that never seems to be able to get it quite right. When it finally does start to work out, it's just a beautiful story. You know, you want to see guys like BDD be able to prove their worth, you know, to take down someone who you were replaced by, who everyone is overlooking you for, I think is just awesome to think about.
It really is, and what a place to prove it, that against Chovy's Talia, 25-4 on this all-time. It's a pretty one-sided scoreline for Chovy, as are many things for GenG this year. They've only lost 2 best-of-5s across the entirety of 2025. One was to KT, and one was to Hanwha Life Esports all the way back in the qualification in the LCK Cup.
And it's been close calls many a time. We've seen them go against a 5th game against many a team domestically, against or in MSI as well. But outside of those two, they have been victorious. And then for GenG, I think, again, it is the weight of the expectations. I feel we have seen Chovy truly be consumed by that all-encompassing need for finally breaking through the barrier, which he's never got further than semis.
And I mean, it is a really brutal metric by which we are judging GenG and by which we are judging Chovy. But it is because he's been looked at, you know, maybe not at every given moment, but many moments for many years now as the best mid laner in the world. And now they're looking mid.
Looking to gank that best mid laner in the world. Chovy flashes immediately into the flag and drag. Knocked back with the seismic shot, but his rocks become his tombstone. KT on the board for first blood.
And when you want to talk about pressure, flashing in line with the flag and drag there, I think he was maybe trying to flash over it or anticipating, you know, an EQ flash or something like that. But Cuz doesn't even have to flash, BDD doesn't even have to flash, and they got first blood, and it goes to the Yone.
And that is in a matchup where Yone is expected to struggle early on. And it's Cuz that finds the early angle, circumvents all vision, doesn't get spotted by Canyon, and sets up his mid laner for success immediately. Because once you hit 6, this matchup becomes infinitely easier.
And I like to joke about this, but I'm kind of not really joking. Yone's hit full build. You get that early Vamp Scepter, and it can just be so difficult now to actually have Prio to be able to poke you down, because you can hit this critical threshold where both Talia has a bad buy in just the tier, so you're not really getting a lot more damage, and you have so much sustain that now all of a sudden you can't really even get Prio in that lane. And that really was the only lane that we were expecting GenG to have that early Prio in. So BDD gonna be in his comfort zone now here, and Chovy's gonna have to play super defensive with no flash for the next 5 minutes.
Cuz gonna be in his comfort zone as well. The ability to invade into Canyon's jungle, who has been a little bit quieter in the early game than Canyon yesteryear. I think the player that's most struggled on GenG across summer has been Canyon, so we'll see if Cuz can punish him appropriately.
And by a large margin, Canyon not just not being able to find the biggest early game impact, which has been kind of a constant through his career, but also just not having that much impact in general, which is not something that you've been able to say for him for a large part of it, as we do have Cuz will get spotted here, but it is very telling that, again, it's Cuz visiting BDD. These players on many a team have been together. Obviously, we're also on the 2023 KT roster, which was stopped by JDG back in that quarterfinal.
And I just find it so interesting. Like, it is very first world problem, but GenG is so stacked and there's so many stars on this team that sometimes it can be a bit difficult to figure out what is your role within this team, right? You know, when you take players who are like the focus on a different roster and you put them all together and you build with more and more and more stars, not everyone can be the star. Not everyone can take that kind of central role. So I do think sometimes players have to reinvent themselves a bit and kind of figure out, okay, well, what playstyle works best for me and enables my team to have the most success?
And this is about as bad as it gets for GenG, because the only one that's ahead is Keen. And that's nice, but he's not, both in terms of champion or in terms of player, the one that needs to be ahead. We're seeing Ruler really struggle in this 2v2, as we were expecting, but because of the lack of jungle intervention from Canyon, they've been able to find a lot there. And then Chovy, obviously, thanks to the gank, has also fallen behind. Now, GenG's objective setups have generally been great, but even that, KT got ahead of them and was able to pick up that first dragon. So we'll see if GenG is able to contest for these grubs in about a minute and a half.
Both teams going for the lane swap, having their bot lanes go up towards that top side because of those grubs that we talk about. You'll see the top laners just matching bot. They can TP up if they're so required. Did see Cuz hanging around mid a little bit, but Wasn't really an easy gank path on Chovy, so he's just going to clear his top side, and Canyon mirrored down towards that bottom side is clearing up towards the grubs. Peter looking for some damage on Duro, but can always just dash away to the Corki.
Yeah, not going to be too much of a big deal, but they're just trying to keep the push going. And though we do see Ruler a little bit behind, at least the Caitlyn has not been farming a lot of plates or anything like that. They've done a good job of actually keeping the farm close enough and keeping them off the tower. It hasn't just been this total disaster where sometimes these Caitlyn lanes really can get out of control, especially when you are going against a weak early laning support like the Rakan. But Duro and Ruler are doing a great job of just kind of minimizing the damage as much as they possibly can, and that's really your job.
We'll have to see whether any contest can come through or whether KT can keep this early lane supremacy going and make sure that they are able to also turn it into grubs, as we do see Dokdam just try and get as much chip damage down as objective is about to spawn. And it should be looking good for KT to contest that. We do see Duro TPing back, but Ruler chunked out as he is. I have a lot of faith in his man's Corki, but
it would
without
be
your health
greedy.
bar, that is only a tier and long sword and some bits. I don't know if that's going to be enough.
It would be very greedy to go for that. Duro not yet level 6,
Say
so doesn't
that.
have the quickness. They're going to step around the corner here, poke their noses in, see if Cuz is doing anything a little bit illegal, but for the moment, Cuz should be able to get one of these grubs. KT pushed in the top side. Ruler's going to answer that. Canyon looking for the flank from the bottom side. Bolt breaker onto BDD, lands the knock-up. Fate sealed out from BDD across the wall, using that ultimate just for a little bit of extra distance between him and GenG. Chovy coming in. BDD will dash out of the back of the pit, and KT will escape with only one of the grubs. Great smite from Canyon to secure the one that was contested, and GenG will get their second.
Honestly, really well played by Canyon to navigate that situation. You know, BDD had prow through mid, but Canyon just kind of set up shop, waited for him, forced out that ult, and got a chunk onto BDD very early. And from that spot, you no longer really want to fight, right? Yeah. So it just became this one grubbing out, even with those winning lanes and what looked like a better spot for KT to at least be able to get two.
I do like seeing that Keen also TP to mid, because with the Cyanode he would have been able to join the fight soon anyway, but because there wasn't a continued contest from KT, was able to get towards bot lane earlier. Perfect still was able to equalize the gold lead just a little bit, able to get some time alone in that lane.
If you're a top laner, you love Peter right now. Hangs around, waits for the double recall, then drags the wave so it slow pushes in towards Perfect. And he's like, okay, I'll very happily just accept this closer to my tower. Means that I'm at very minimal risk of a jungle gank.
It is hard to find someone that doesn't love Peter.
That's
I
true.
gotta say though, this man has been farming fans throughout the year, both with his interviews and his really stellar performance, particularly again on the Nico. Has had his fair ups and downs, but he is a KT player, so that kind of comes with the territory.
Sure, but just to highlight how good it was, that was a whole wave, a cannon wave, lost for Keen, and Perfect was able to get there, pick up the cannon, pick up a couple of the melee minions, so it's a big gold swing for Perfect. Obviously doesn't matter too much in the grand scheme of things, but those are the small things that can add up.
No, they absolutely can. I mean, unfortunately for Keen, he already had a significant advantage. You know, he has been doing really well in the 1v1, and honestly to me, Keen is just point blank period, best top laner in the world.
Agreed.
This guy almost seems to just not make mistakes. It's kind of ridiculous, and he can play every style.
GDD's going to snap back here. Takes a couple of fists to his face, but is able to rebind his soul and escape with the wave pushing it.
I think Canyon, unless BDD really overextends, mainly just looking to get Chovy a nice base here. The Dragon is about to come up in 25 seconds. We'll see. GenG for sure going to be looking to fight for this one. They now have the Rakan ultimate available as well. And TPs are coming in. Both mid lane is going to try and fight for pride on the wave here. Keen doesn't FTP, but he is Scion, so with his ultimate, is able to join at reasonable pace.
I mean, this is one of the things that when I watch GenG a lot in the LCK had always really impressed me, is that, you know, even if they do build these slight deficits, they
BDD.
play
BDD, fate sealed across the wall, and once again his ultimate used before that objective fight. Now he's going to have to try and path through 3 members of GenG to get down into this river.
It's just a beautiful bit of pressure, and now again, you have this position that was supposed to be this winning position. Now BDD without ult, do you really want to take the fight? I think it becomes so much more risky. But KTT, they are trying to set up in the area, trying to get some traps down. GenG looks like they're going to be able to retake this space, though.
Cuz is sitting on a spike, does have the Sunrise Sky available. That is a big advantage thanks to that early assist, plus the fact that he is up a couple of camps. And we do see BDD is still around, even without the ultimate. If the rest of the team sets up for him, should still be able to do a decent amount of damage.
And look at bot. So right now it's still Dokdam down there just pushing in this wave. So he's drawn Ruler down, but Ruler is now very separated from the rest of the team. So Dr. does have the inside track to get back to the rest of his squad that's in this area, and BDD now coming again back from mid lane. So they have pretty decent positioning to try to take over this area.
GenG using that time to deny a little bit of vision control ward in the pit from KT as they do start up their second dragon. Ruler at the back of the pit. Can Valkyrie in if a fight starts sharpish. Meanwhile, the unstoppable onslaught coming out from Keen as he charges down here. The Drake falling lower though, down to 2k. BDD jumping in just to distract. A quickness from Duro, a smite from Kuz. KT secure the Drake and a great disengage as well as GenG are the ones retreating, unable to find purchase in the fight.
And KT says thank you very much for watching as we take the objective. Perfect does have to invest his TP, but that's an investment you're happily going to take with Mountain on the board, and the fact that GenG is playing a 2-carry composition, as they so often do. This early game is off to a great start here for KT.
It's a fantastic start for KT, and I just really like how they navigated that, because I think a lot of teams, once they lost ult on BDD, would have just said, all right, that's their dragon, we just have to give that. But they navigated it out so incredibly well, playing with Prio through that bot lane. Doctum non-stop pushing just meant Ruler was so sectioned off from the rest of the team that by the time he actually got there, the dragon was basically already gone. And it just became a bit of a flip, and KT do get that, and they're comfortable to continue just playing at this pace.
And for GenG, one of the things that they have found many advantage in has been that snap engage. Duro in particular has been exceptional at this as they're...
And there it goes, straight onto Doctam. Cease and desist living as the Caitlyn falls to Canyon. GenG on the board in the semifinals.
There you go, that's the engage right there as Duro and Canyon press their R buttons and Doctum goes down.
Yeah, Doctum, nothing much to do about that one. Just kind of gets caught pushing a little bit too far up, and he is on weak side of the map. Everyone else from KT is on that top side, so had to be a little bit more careful. Does get punished, but it is just the one kill, so not the end of the world.
Sometimes you see these plays around the 13-minute, 13:30 mark because people want the plates. So they'll step up a little bit more greedily than they usually would, thinking, oh, there's a bit of 200 extra gold for me, put it in my pockets. But because of that, GenG collapsed well. And as you say, there really wasn't any support for Doctam on that side of the map.
And one item spikes to come through here. We have the Leandries for Perfect, we have Blade of the Rune King for BD, and we have the Collector for Doctam. All three of those are insane one-item spikes. And we'll see. I think Herald is definitely going to be a setup, and we're already seeing GenG set up for that as Duro moving into the enemy jungle to try and get as much vision as possible.
Yeah, Ruler obviously going to be behind on his first item completion, given that he's going for Triforce that has tier, etc. But I've got to say, that's a 200 gold lead. That's it for your Caitlyn Nico against a Corki Rakan. Like, you really would have wanted to build that into a lot more. So credit to GenG, great at kind of just minimizing the advantages that they're giving over to Doctam here. And GenG, as I was touching on earlier, even when they would sometimes fall behind in the LCK, they're just so masterful at how they approach the team fights and how they actually set up these objectives that getting a lead is very far away from guaranteeing a win against GenG.
Yeah, they really are one of the most resilient teams that we have when it comes to both their cross maps, but as well the consistency of their setups for team fights, one of which I think we might be having on our hands soon.
Yeah, you see a couple of wards behind that Herald pit from Duro. Chovy and Canyon moving towards that top side, perhaps seeing if Perfect overstepped. Kuz comes across, spotted. Canyon and Chovy have a decision to make. Who are we going to put the damage down onto? There's the Bolt Breaker. As Canyon slams his fists into Kuz. Kuz chipped away at a little. Duro's going to start up the Herald here with Gleaming Quill. BDD's working his way up from the bot side, but might just be focused on the Scuttle Crab. Peter looking to see if there's anything he can do here, but it doesn't really feel like KT want to contest right now. The cease and desist from GenG, they want the fight on their terms, and they kill off the Nico immediately. Nothing that KT can do to collapse.
I mean, Peter was just way too far ahead of the rest of the team, right? No one's even around him when they do engage on him, and the Nico's just a freebie, an add-on to that Herald, which may mean that GenG gets first tower, and that's going to get them very close to feats.
See, Keen, just as an insurance policy, does TP his way over. In hindsight, not necessary, but given the timing, makes sense that he would go for that the moment that the fight actually starts. And we're slowly starting to see the gold lead dwindle. There will be a TP advantage now, though, here for KT. We'll see if they can leverage that when the dragon comes up, because GenG are still in a position where I think they need to fight for at least the next two dragons to kind of equalize that, because if KT gets off to soul point, the game becomes so much harder to play out, and they have an really, frankly, insane amount of Baron damage as well. So I feel like that makes it even more important that they are able to find that objective fight.
Absolutely agree, and I do like the lane assignments here for KT right now. You put BDD into that side lane. Sion has to go MR early against the Rumble, so now you have this Hollow Radiance, and you're laning against the Blade of the Rune King Yone, which is obviously not going to be something you're going to be able to do much damage towards. Of course, Keen's job is to just protect the tower, not to win the 1v1, but that can become difficult over time as you can kind of slowly get whittled down. GenG, though, a lot of members here around mid, and I'm just expecting them to drop this Herald soon and try to play for this Dragon.
Putting the Herald down mid would give them that prio in the mid lane. Last fight around the Drake, we didn't really see a battle occur at all. KT were able to secure the Dragon and force GenG away, but they do have the tools, KT do, to really have these big AoE fights. A Pop Blossom, a Cataclysm, an Equalizer, Fate Sealed on top of it. If they can layer that CC, GenG are just going to pop.
As a little bit of damage down on Cuz, I want to highlight as well the fact the ability for KT to find these angles as BDD.
Weavers will Fate Sealed again from BDD before the neutral. GenG collapsed onto him. Did have to use that Weaver's wall, and now the question is for KT, do you hit?
Oh, Peter lost flash.
Do you go for the fight? Peter, no flash, as you say. That Nico, half of a champ if he can't get onto the back line, still looking for the engage. Meanwhile, the cease and desist into the quickness combo. A double charm comes out from Duro, and GenG just ripped the hearts out of KT.
And that play from Duro, the man that at the beginning of the year was the weak spot for GenG, sets up on both sides of the fight. First gets the charm, allows them to engage on the jungler, then flashes his way over, finds the charm, double knock-up, and GenG find a big fight.
I mean, the setup is just so far superior. Keen was waiting in the tri-brush on a pink ward, forced the ult out of BDD, and then in they go. Perfect engage from Duro, double seismic shove. They'll lead them both. They had already forced the flash off of Peter as well. This is just picture perfect here from GenG, showing their class around the objectives. And just like that, not only is the advantage gone, you're now 2K behind, you're not close to a soul, and GenG once again right back into their comfort zone.
And the 2 big points for me have been one, Peter, who obviously, even on his Nico, thus far hasn't been able to find the impact. No big ults, seems to be a little disjointed with his team. But also, BDD has not actually been able to have a single offensive ult. Every single time he has been looking to step up, looking to make the play, and his team is going to trust him to do so as well. But every time he's had to ult out defensively, and I do think that is a lot of the power of this composition, that Yone ult layered with the Rumble, layered with the Nico or the Jarvan, and we're not really getting that for KT right now, and they weren't able to get the Dragon as a result.
And it just feels like they clearly want to contest, but they are late multiple times now. It's the exact same thing we saw at the Herald. You know, Peter shows up, he's kind of separated from the rest of the team, walks in, dies. This time, BDD is making the rotation, but they don't have vision control in the river, so he loses his ult, then Peter walks out, loses his flash, then you're getting engaged on. They just don't have all of the setup done properly, and GenG is a team that everything has to be perfect against. You must have great setup or you just have no chance.
Because GenG suffocate you out of the game. They deny vision around the objectives. KT are stepping into fog of war, and GenG have every single tool in their arsenal with the ability just to lock one person up and kill them. And at that moment, you're 4v5, and you can't really take the fight as KT.
And this is also where I think the KT comp, once you start falling behind, this comp struggles, because you have great tools of getting vision, but like who actually goes in? Because with the clone and with Cuz's flag, you are able to check, are they in the brush? But then what, right? Unless you're able to get at least a little bit of control, someone needs to actually find that engage. Because every single member that you might send forward will just get blown up.
Gonna get spotted potentially here. He's still in that brush.
They don't know.
Walks into the bush. There's Juro, gets the quickness off. Weaver's wall out, and the charm follows up. KT, though, still alive. Peter yet to fall. Cards going in with the flag and drag. Fate sealed. Flash away from Canyon. He dashes out with a bolt breaker. GenG now on the back foot. The ace in the hole cancelled by the knock-up. A seismic shove onto Cuz. Keen the first to fall. GenG on the back foot. KT still looking to find purchase in the fight.
It's still a big win for KT, though. We'll see if they can turn it into more. Might not want to run the risk with Canyon still alive, but GenG overstepped big time there.
Yeah, I mean, Duro just got spotted out. He was on a very deep flank. He was trying to look for an angle to go in there and did find it, but he kind of had to go at a time that he didn't really want to. I think he wanted to wait a little bit longer till the team was there in position, but gets found out, has to go early, and GenG just decided we're going to try to take the fight regardless. KT, though, great turnaround, and I think we might have to go back to live because Doxian was just hitting that Otacon. But here it is one more time, just kind of going a little bit early. And BDD has a great turnaround right here with Cuz.
And then on the other side of that, look at Perfect and how much damage he's actually doing. As in the picture-in-picture, Otacon's going.
Otacon's already started by KT as GenG look to take the fight. Canyon
Peter.
not here yet. Peter! Pop Blossom goes wide. And perhaps GenG can look to turn this one around now as KT don't have that big engage tool. GenG take their turn on the Otacon. Seismic Shove just short of clipping onto Perfect. GenG still on that Otacon, down to 3,000 HP. Cuz looking at the engage, but he's locked up. Decimating Smash doesn't catch him. In the flag and the dragon, still forced away. GenG will claim the Otacon.
Peter was literally seconds away from his flash, but because he doesn't have his available, Chovy's able to flash out, and KT unable to take the Otacon and gonna lose the turret as well.
Yeah, and as soon as that ulti does not hit there from Peter, it's so tough now for KT to re-enter. Cuz wanted to stay around to see if he can find an opportunity to look for a steal, but Keen shuts the door on that as well, flashes forward, makes it so his only way out is back to the tower, makes it a guaranteed Otacon for them. And that glimmer of hope you had there for KT around the Otacon snuffed out just as fast as it appeared.
If you're KT now, you're looking at feats of strength. 23 petals to 4 on the Otacon. You're looking at Juro and Canyon stepping up together to try and deny blue buffs. Drake up in 10 seconds time. GenG just denying any vision for KT.
There's a lot of dive though, and Chovy doesn't have his flash thanks to the play from Peter. If they can get on top of him, take him out. Again, this composition, the only other real source of damage is Ruler on this Corki. So if they can find a way to get BDD, Cuz, or Perfect onto that backline, that might be an angle, but Perfect doesn't have his flash. Stop was used in that topside play as well.
They go for Canyon, jump on him immediately with the Vault Breaker to get himself out. The tower falls in mid. KT not really defending that mid tower for now, as KT still look to start up this Drake. Will be soul point for them. Chovy on the flank as he wraps around to join his team behind this Drake. Perfect, look at that equalizer. Weaver's wall, Perfect's on the wrong side of it, but can walk out towards the top side of his jungle. Drake down to 2,000 HP. Peter with the Pop Blossom, and a fight flowers for KT. BDD dives in. GenG are left routed as Ruler has nowhere to go. Flashes, but with an ace in the hole. One more bullet,
was so fucking bad, bro. Like,
the tomb for Ruler as KT clean up the fight.
Peter finds the engage to flip the game on its head. BDD and Perfect have the follow-up immediately. Beautiful equalizer, beautiful Yone ult coming across, gets them soul point, is gonna get them multiple towers here. KT with a picture-perfect team fight.
And there is the dive that was able to get KT the win. When they found that best of 5, the final game, it was Cuz and BDD that consistently found the backline access this time around. Peter says, I don't know how many times, 4th time's the charm, doesn't give up, finds the engage, and KT take a big lead because, again, I want to reiterate, soul point for Mountain Soul into the GenG composition is absolutely crazy.
Yeah, and we just have to watch Peter here. Obviously, they tried to go for the engage on Perfect at the top of your screen, but he's able to pull back very, very effectively. Then Peter goes in, finds the beautiful engage. Look at the equalizer across everyone. Look at Yone coming in over the wall, surviving for so long. Doctem completely untouched throughout the whole fight.
And it's the lack of flash on Chovy. He's not able to get out. Just a combo of Peter with that equalizer is enough to take down the Talia, as there he goes! Peter pops off.
How can you not love this guy, man? It is just so fun to cheer for. And look at the damage from Perfect in that fight. You know, this has been such an exciting game one to kick it off. And though it has been a very one-sided history between these two teams of late, you know, GenG taking the vast majority of those series, KT, you always have to give them a chance. And you look all time, you know, that is, of course, you know, back in the very old days. This new iteration, you know, when you're looking at game score in 2025, 25-4. When you look at series score, 6-1. But it doesn't matter because only today is what is important. You just need to find purchase in this series, and I think the pressure really is all on GenG.
We're trying to control the area around the Baron right now. Juro forced to exit with the grand entrance. Ace in the hole used onto Ruler. Takes a chunk out of him, but not too substantial as KT group up as 5. The Scuttle Crab there will give some vision over to GenG, and it looks like KT decide they're not going to force anything right now. Go back, farm up these waves. Infinity Edge on its way for BDD. Already has the BF sword and the crit cloak, so he's very close to completing it.
And Dokdam, not quite as close, but also steadily getting closer. That is a crazy spike for both Caitlyn and Yone. And we have seen flashes are available now for Chovy, for Canyon, not quite yet for Ruler. And that is going to make these fights hard. Because again, this is what we saw there was the perfect setup for a KT fight. Just make sure you get on top of either Ruler or Chovy, take them out at the beginning, and we're looking at optimization as well. Chovy, which I think is a lot of utility, has gone
that exact setup
Rylai's.
every single
That's no arm guard.
No, I think it's probably what he's going to build towards next, but it does mean that it's going to touch on that the 30-item spikes for BDD and Dokdam are going to be so much more offensive power. We're going to get a Collector coming through from Ruler. Of course, that's still going to be some power. We're probably going to get a Zhonya's third from Chovy. So the amount of damage that they are going to be pumping out here with BDD and Dokdam, if they find that good engage, they have the power behind them to knock them down.
GenG know the BDD isn't here right now as Ruler. Valkyrie's in. Dokdam has to flash across the wall, equalizer down as well. The Weaver's Wall from Chovy puts him on the back line. A seismic shove. Gonna cut down perfect. Cataclysm in as KT look for the fight, but they just lock GenG in. And they don't have the damage. Keen on that front line. Mortal Blade coming out from BDD for the knockup. Chovy flashing forward. Chucking the rocks into Dokdam, but he can't quite get the damage. BDD finds one. Dokdam walks away wounded. Cuz dives into the middle, but they don't have it. KT routed by GenG. BDD locked up with the slow from a decimating smash, and that axe will make him go timber. Keen picks up the final. It's a 4-for-1 for GenG.
And it's the snap engage from GenG that gets them back in the lead, as this should be setting up for the Baron. 25 seconds until the Drake, so the timing a little tense, but we'll see if they can get and stave off that soul weight. It's a really big deal.
It's just beautiful here from Canyon and Ruler immediately in onto Dokdam, and Dokdam just has under so much pressure throughout this fight. Look at this Weaver's Wall, how effective it was. Dokdam is not hitting that entire time.
And when we look at the other side, it was perfect that also got trapped by it, so double duty there. The Rumble immediately being out of the fight meant that a lot of damage wasn't quite there. KT clearly caught off guard in this one, and it really does feel like whichever team is the one that pulls the trigger is the one that gets out ahead in the fight.
GenG using the knowledge that BDD was catching that wave top, was backing, had to TP in. They knew with that extra couple of seconds for the teleport to finish its cast, they could find that snap engage. They get the Baron, the Drake up, and it looks like KT are giving up pressure around it. GenG forced them back. I totally agree with you. I think KT forcing this. Sometimes you need a moment just to let everything reset. They're still on soul point. GenG, it's only their second Drake. You have some time to push out your waves before the oncoming storm comes in with these Baron-empowered minions.
Yeah, I mean, KT obviously not out of it just yet, but that was a devastating blow that was dealt to them there by GenG. If you could have won that fight, you're losing Baron, you're losing that early soul, and now it's going to be a long time. That's a KT roller coaster right there.
Yep, that's what we kind of were expecting coming in. And thus far, you know, I think we're still a few ups and downs short of Zil.
You can see Chovy, though, has his Seekers now, you know, almost on that Zhonya's. Double IE has been completed, so a lot of power still there for KT. But GenG is just so crisp with these engages. And now that they have the run of the map, it's very difficult to surprise them. Look at the amount of vision that they're actually putting down here, you know, in this entire area. Enemy jungle is just littered with pink wards. It's 4 pink wards plus some additional wards placed down there. And it's very, very difficult for KT to find an angle to even attempt a winning fight.
A good thing for KT is they've escaped the majority of the Baron power play without losing any of their inhibitor towers. There's still a minute left on it. That's 2 waves, but with the way that GenG are pushing out on the map, it doesn't look like they want to make this push go any further. So for KT, you don't have to worry about super minions. You can push up a little bit out of your own base, but the risk is you only have 1 tier 2 left. So if you're pushing up through mid, there's 2 ways teams can collapse on you. If you're pushing up through bot, you have to be worried about that loop around. Even if you're pushing towards your red buff, you have to be a little bit cautious because GenG could be lying in wait.
And GenG both have all their sideline towers, which is further kind of limits the space that KT gets to inhibit on the map. I do want to highlight the reason why, as you already mentioned, Matic, they don't really get to do a lot is because of the early Drakes. If KT wasn't at soul point, they could have just said, we don't care about the soul, we're just going to shove in the opposite 2 waves. That's not going to be the case. Baron about to time out here. GenG want to get a little bit more damage down, but I think they also know that this turret will hold on. The Chovy says no, and I grab that one as well.
Nice use of the Weaver's Wall there from Chovy.
I just love how much protection there is for Ruler. You know, you see the ace in the hole coming through, Canyon's diving in front, Duro's jumping in. It's just get down, Mr. President. They know they have to keep these carries safe, and I think GenG, without question to me, is the best team in the world at playing comps without a ton of threat, right?
Yeah.
You know, 1-2 carries. They are so good at creating space for Ruler and Chovy. And of course, you have arguably the best in both of their roles to protect, which makes it really worthwhile sacrificing for them.
Does also mean that sometimes they draft comps because they're like, you cannot get away with everything. As
Like
we've
the
seen
Ziggs
even
one
at
versus
this
HLE.
tournament. For KT, the threat of Assault Point does mean that they're just a single pick on either Chovy or Canyon away, or Chovy or Ruler rather, although Canyon would also do it, but with the GA it's a little harder, away from getting them a Mountain Soul. And that can really offset a lot of the gold lead that we've already seen. But between the pedals and the amount of map control that GenG is there, and GenG's well-known ability of taking a game where they're in a slightly advantageous state and turning it into you not being able to play and just kind of watch as your Nexus crumbles.
And it's just so much harder when you get all these luxury items coming in. You touched on the GA. There's a Zonia's. There's a Locket, a Redemption, and he was on Exhaust. He just actually swapped off of it over towards that Ghost. So the Exhaust does expire, which makes things a little bit easier. But there's so much defensive power, and dive comps become really difficult to pull off in the late game as this defensive itemization comes through, because you don't get a second chance, right? You full send it on Chovy, he presses Zonia's. You can't just be like, wait, reset. You know, it's very difficult to then be able to disengage from the fight.
It really is. Even things like the upgraded plated steel caps for Ruler, just those little shields that can really make it so the initial burst isn't taking you down. GenG pushing in through all 3 lanes right now. Chovy's assigned to top, Keen's on bot, and the rest of the team are grouping up around mid.
And for a second there, we had the classic KT throughout the year gold graph where everything is the opposite team, and then BDD was sitting at like 40 gold lead, desperately clinging on. As they do have the IEs, they do have a QSS for BDD as well, but it's got to be one hell of an engage here from KT. And there is just, as we keep highlighting, there's just no vision. There's no surprise angle, so GenG will see this attack coming.
There's no wards, nothing out on the map.
They just don't have an easy way to get it down as well. They don't have a tank to face check for the support to run behind, and they also don't have something like a Rakan decimating smash onto Cuz, caught out with that lack of vision. Keen with the Roar of the Slayer finds his mark. BDD forced away towards the top side. Peter having to flash Doctam underneath the tower. Pop Blossom from Peter will distract the rest of GenG. Canyon's going to go into the Guardian Angel, but the Angel's on his shoulder. Might be enough. Fate sealed from BDD onto the backline. They'll look for Ruler. Keen flashes. Get down, Mr. Ruler, as he blocks the shot from the ace in the hole. Decimating smash again. Perfect, looking for more. BDD going in with a Mortal Strike 3. Tries to get onto Ruler. The damage doesn't tick. Ruler still stands. A Keen will run for him. BDD fights another. Ruler down. Just the mid lane is left alive. BDD versus Chovy. We've seen it so many times over the years.
But Cuz is coming up faster. They could go for the soul here right now because Cuz has a much earlier respawn timer. This was an insane fight. The pick set up by Keen to start it off was incredible, but then Canyon sends it way too far. Look at how Doctam plays this. Flashes back onto the tower, and look at the trap placement as he arrives straight onto the trap. One shot into GA, re-trapped and killed again.
And then it's BDD with Equalizer from Perfect that sets it up here. We do see the stall in the picture.
We gotta go live.
As they actually pulled it to try and get her as much time as possible. Canyon's on his way.
But he's all the way back in base right now. Ping's coming out on where he is. Cuz and BDD looking for the break. Duro doesn't have the smite from some of the spell book. It's gonna be sold for KT. From 5K behind, they find their priceless moment.
How is this for a game 1 of the semifinals? Everyone is saying it's going to be a GenG stop, but KT refused to follow the storylines, man. They are just giving everything they've got here. It's still incredibly close. Massive pedal lead, 4K gold lead, but the soul there to generally equalize. And now it's going to come down to the execution. Who can make that big play in what could very well be the final fight of the game? The next one really could decide it.
And GenG looking towards this Baron, but KT, another breath of life. A big mistake from Canyon, punished beautifully with the comfort. The fact that it's BDD and Chovy left standing at the end of it all. These two players that have been fighting one another, and between these two, Chovy has so often come out on top. But BDD right now, 6-2 on the Yone, picking it in game 1, a pure show of confidence. And to me, this game, it feels so even because the Mountain Soul is just so much value, and again, it's only 2 carries. Chovy doesn't even have his pan item finished yet.
And look at how tanky BDD is at this point. He's got his Jack Show, he's got a Shield Bow, and he has a QSS. So he is very difficult to knock down, but they're on the Baron.
Baron begun by GenG. KT looking to call the bluff. It's already down to 7k. BDD going forward. There's the Weaver's Wall. Out from Chovy. Peter lands a double knocker, but he's on the wrong side of the wall. The equalizer down as well. Will chip away at Juro. Baron now resetting. Juro down to half HP. KT on the front foot, on the offensive. Chovy looking for a flick. Doesn't land it. It's a shape splitter anyway. That clone from Peter.
That is 2 big ultimates gone though. As both the Equalizer and the Pop Blossom not available, so BDD and his team definitely taking a risk. Canyon is behind him.
Juro looking for that redemption because he's still got the quickness. They'll dive onto Perfect and they lock him down. He dies in the River of Fate. Onto the back line with the Cataclysm out as well. But Ruler still stands, taken out in the end by BDD, who's now making a swift retreat. Dogdam in the pit, caught out by Juro. The headshot. He loads another into the chamber, but he can't quite get the damage down. BDD looking for more as he sees his teammates fall. He can't find it. GenG somehow win out the fight.
And the Baron stayed least throughout all of that.
Insanity. What an angle from Canyon. And the CC is immaculate onto Perfect. They layer it completely 100-0. It is all about this engage coming from the top side. Eyes in onto Canyon and Duro finding that engage on Perfect. If Perfect does not just get one shot, if he gets his Zonias off there, I think it's a stomp in the fight for KT. But then Dogdam gets caught in the pit here. Baron is hitting him this whole time. Even though he knocked down Ruler, he can't finish off Keen. And then Peter and BDD are trying to get back in to bail him out, but they just can't. And GenG again come up with the Baron.
And the fact that Ruler survived there was crazy. Even in the Cataclysm, the bodyguards were there, both Duro and Keen standing tall, making sure, and if there was an equalizer on top of them, as you highlighted, that would have been it. That would have just been Ruler most likely dead. But now it is this Rebel Baron problem. It doesn't perfectly overlap with the spawn of the Elder, but it should ensure that GenG will have a full chokehold of the vision in the map.
Just what a crazy game, and you can see Void Staff now there in for Chovy, and he's got 18 stacks on the Mage Eyes. He's basically full build. Ruler's completed his IE as well. So these carries are getting so powered up at this point that one mistake just means you get one shot.
Flashes up across the board for most of GenG. Only Juro lacking it, has the cleanse and the heal right now. On the other side, Cuz still waiting on his cooldown to come back, but it makes the engage for KT so much harder because even though Peter now has a flash of his own, the Pop Blossom can be evaded really quickly with that summoner spell.
And Chovy has flash, has stopwatch, so he's alone in the side lane, can also easily join with the Weaver's Wall, and they're just slowly sieging this. KT, one of the few downsides of that Yone is that ranged wave clear is tough, same for the Rumble, so holding this off is tough.
Stoppable onslaught in from King just to break that trap line, just to break this tower. Weaver's Wall out. Perfect's going to be on the GenG side of it, but he's down towards the bottom of it and will be able to escape their clutches. The inhibitor tower does fall. Top lane in here below as well. 50 seconds left on this Baron. A couple of waves for GenG to play with.
Yeah, but it's KT holding on well. No inhibitors have fallen yet. They did lose the one tower, but only 40 seconds left on this Baron.
He goes in, and he tries to seal the fates of Chovy, but he pops a stopwatch. Him in gets him. Cataclysm onto the backline. GenG have already lost their mid laner. A GA coming out for KT as they manage to back away. GenG lose 2. BDD wants to make it more, can't find it, but KT hold on.
The engage from BDD is such a thing of beauty because the Zonias loses so much power against the Caitlyn. So they go in knowing that he's going to use the Zonias. He uses it, gets trapped out of it perfectly by Dogdam. This is just such a thing of beauty, playing perfectly to your comp.
And that's a 2 for 0. The trap, the headshot, and the equalizer. Get the roller coaster back up, because now it's a 2 for 0, and Elder is about to spawn. We'll see how the Death Timers play out. Chovy does FTP, Keen does as well. But this game is still ongoing.
20 seconds for the Elder, 41 minutes in the game. KT are looking to set up around it. There's a little bit of vision there for GenG right now. They do have the TPs on Keen and Chovy. Keen still 10 seconds away.
But no Zonias will be available for Chovy, so he's going to be vulnerable.
Teleport comes in for Chovy. KT put up a snap trap line to try and stop them. Peter has that Pop Blossom. They'll look for the Fate Sealed. The Elder already down to 7,000. Shape Splitter out. Seismic Shot. Peter gets the Pop Blossom only onto Duro, but the Elder is secured, and now KT will look to turn the fight. GenG immediately run for the hills. Keen flashes across the Fate Sealed from BDD. Trying to take out Chovy. Duro falls on the back line as KT continue to collapse. Kaz dodges the Seismic Shot, but Chovy survives. The Elder doesn't quite tick him down. In the end, a 1-for-1. But KT secure the Elder Dragon.
The KT, they're going to keep looking. They want to try and extend this play. But the trade...
They don't have the waves. They've only got mid.
Yeah, the trade also not the worst, because you'd rather have Cuz be taken down if you're GenG than Duro, but they are going to keep pushing. The backs are going to have to come through, and mid lane it is going to fall, but the wave clear for GenG might be enough.
Okay, if we watch that, if we get this replay, you have to keep your eyes on the Seraph's cooldown. It came up as the Elder was ticking on him when Cuz went in, and procs as he would have died to the Elder Dragon execute there. That is insane how close it was. I don't know if we're gonna get to see the items. We probably won't, unfortunately. So you're gonna have to take my word for it. Maybe we can see it highlighted later on, but they get the secure here, and KT decides we're going to full send it. Chovy had no Seraphs still at this moment. No Seraphs still at this moment. It doesn't come up until right now as it procs. That is insane. They might have been able to end the game.
And if Chovy doesn't flash the damage on that Cataclysm, that could have been it.
It really could. They call it the Church of Chovy. Well, his prayers are being answered right now. The Archangel on his shoulder saves him. And for GenG, they're still looking at Elder for the next minute, but it's going to expire. We talked earlier about the side lane waves, the side lane towers still being up. KT have to do a slow march through this top side.
There's a 15-second period here where GenG do not get to contest. And I imagine KT is going to full send it towards the Baron. Now it's KT that are the ones back in control of this game. There is still a good amount of vision though. Looking at the items, Canyon has GA. And we do not can say the same of Cuz as look
Canyon
at that
spotted.
roller coaster.
Canyon spotted. Canyon spotted. There's a flank ward as well up towards where the Krugs are.
15
if
seconds.
GenG want to look for it. 15 on the Elder. Baron now on the map again. GenG trying to step up, trying to face up against KT. The snap trap down. No autos onto Keen. Perfect looking for a flank with that Pop Blossom. The Baron down, taken by KT. Will they still look for the fight, or will they switch away, decide to back away? That's what they do. They'll reset, they'll spend their gold. And once again, they'll face GenG on the Rift.
I mean, BDD now has his GA. Docdom has a GA. Cuz's GA is going to be coming back up. They're going to have triple potentially here. BDD just sold his. He's actually changing it out, so decides not to go for it. But so much power now in this game. It's just going to come down to one fight. This late into the game, the respawn timers are so incredibly long. And the question is, do they actually try to risk it here on a push? Because there's still a lot of standing gold. Both the outer towers are up in the bot lane. They could go clear those up at the very least. But the question is, will they just try to play towards Elder, or will they play aggressively to try to close this game?
We're seeing there the possible TP ward put down by Duro. Note they can't hold on to the turret, but they can at least do that. Gold going to be in favor of KT, but as we're saying, we're at full builds for most people here. The Mountain Soul is firmly in favor of KT, but the Petals 37-4 here for GenG. Although the relative value of that experience not really gonna match up at this point. And Docdom and BDD, the amount of damage these two players are dealing in these late game fights, full build on these crit carries is disgusting.
90 seconds on this Baron buff. 130 before the Elder. KT marching down bot. GenG trying to defend. Bolt breaker from Canyon is met by a Soul and Bound from BDD. He snaps back to his team, but not yet to reality, as KT are looking to take the first game of their first semi-final over the MSI champions. KT pushing in. GenG struggling to find a defense right now.
And this all coming down to this. KT on the verge of taking the first game, but GenG are not going to fall over without a fight.
Keen still that meatball on the front line, but has to pop the ultimate to try and escape. Knocked up, forced away. The Nexus Towers, KT's target is Docdom. Headshots one. The next one for GenG, that last bastion of defense. The cannon minion still there, seismically shoved underneath the turret. The Baron expires in 40 seconds, and again KT just playing it slow, taking it patient, snapping back again. The Nexus tower almost down. Canyon dives in, but Peter distracts the rest of GenG. Canyon size the GA, but the rest of GenG can't get to him. They've been equalized. The Guardian Angel down on Canyon, meanwhile BDD distracting. Generation Gaming. The Cataclysm in from Cuz will build the walls of GenG's tomb. GenG taken down by the might that is the KT Coaster.
And that was just game one. What a start to this World Semifinals. GenG and KT giving us a game for the ages.
And I'm done with it. We are getting excited. This team is at semifinals. They just won game number one. There is no way that we can't give them the credit in this nail-biter. They just keep on going.
We're just all so excited for KT with how well they played so far. Incredible stuff. I thought in the mid-game when GenG had that 5K gold lead, it was done and dusted, but our excitement's through the roof.
Oh my God, I can't believe KT just took game number one. Oh no, give her away.
I was so excited.
No, I'm sorry. No, it's fine, it's fine. They won game one. They won game one. No. Ah, no.
She had to step in. She had to step in, but oh my gosh. I mean, I will run out of superlatives to talk about this game, but yesterday I thought we were being treated. I feel like with this game one, we're in for an insane series knowing that KT withstood all of that.
Jocks, they're still undefeated in games at Worlds. Even after playing GenG, they're undefeated in games. Turns out the roller coaster just keeps going up.
And I thought it was so, like this was we're so back. We're so over. And it starts with the base defenses were massive, Chovy.
They certainly were. And I love that in the Swiss stage, we actually got an early interview with Doctum, and he talked about late game Caitlyn. Their emphasis of Caitlyn was late game. This one, BDD opened it up with the engage, which forces the Zhonya's, but Zhonya's have really low effectiveness versus a Caitlyn team because they can just put the trap right under your Zhonya's. That's exactly what Doctum did. He did trap, headshot, net, headshot, and this was the defense that opened the game back up, Emily.
Yeah, there were so many key crucial moments. I also loved how they used Peter kind of redeeming himself on the Nico after a few mistakes early, but there was another massive mid lane based defense, Chovy, that I know you wanted to go over in our HyperX Reflex replay.
Let's take a look.
You just need to catch your breath.
I mean, there were so many late game fights that we have to hone in on them. This was the one where they immediately deleted Cuz, but then Canyon went so deep, ulting under the tower, and you see them section off the fights. Again, Doctum's able to flash under the tower, puts down a trap for himself, defends himself. Even though Peter goes down, it opens up this kind of pathway, and BDD creates so much.
Yeah, you see the amount of space that BDD is able to create, setting up for Doctum to absolutely pop off in these fights. Despite the initial Canyon engage, he's untouched.
Crazy.
Just hitting, and then BDD keeps ducking back in and out. Just absolutely insane performance and a really great understanding of how they want to use this composition with the Caitlyn, with the Nico, with the Rumble. Look at those damage numbers from Doctum.
Again, the Caitlyn that they emphasized at the beginning of the tournament. They were one of the teams that immediately jumped on it. First couple games, Caitlyn Orianna. Yep. Doctum interviewed about it, talked about how it was all about the late game for them, how they want to use this Caitlyn, and he really delivered. That right there, that is a roller coaster gold graph if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that is a KT gold graph, but as we see these damage numbers coming through, I mean, GenG even had some great setup fights, right? So the tenacity coming out of KT.
I didn't know if I was going to ask it, but what does GenG have to do to recover?
Well, they can't give up Dragon Soul again. Mountain Soul proved to be very, very powerful.
Chovy got Talia 25-4 before that. You know, we've got Ruler on his Corki 15-4 before that. I mean, it's not like this was a game that they were meant to lose at all. Nobody believed in them. But KT win game one, which sets us up for an unbelievable first semifinal. We will be right back.
An update is required. Financial system updating. System updated.
We will dance together.
The future of money is here. Feels good.
So slow.
I told you I was done with basic browsers. Your setup wants Opera GX, and you're holding it back. Upgrade to the gaming browser. Download Opera GX. Red Bull gives you wings.
The greatest players in the world are here.
They can just burn this one down. Oh my god, forward by 9!
You are going to see them like you've never seen them before.
Rocket Will as the Arcane Storm doing so much work in GenG! They are just going to ace them!
누굴 만나도 이길 수 있다는 자신감 정도로만 생각하고 있습니다.
GenG, the EWC winners!
Locking down the Drake is now Doran. Decent position. Double
break down my walls, but I won't rise again. Cause I stand tall in my environment. How could I ever close my eyes as they silence sins? They try to take me down with their violence.
Oh, they go back in. Bishop flashes in, and down goes Knight.
Every moment of your journey, crystal clear. Landscapes, absolutely stunning. Close-ups, sharp and full of vibe. Group shots, packed with detail. Zoom in on one face, still flawless. Colors so real, every scene, every smile, unforgettable. Oppo Find X9 series, Hasselblad telephoto, zoom into detail.
I got this old thing and the bill from the store where I got it. Figured you could beat it with a better deal on one of these big boys.
It doesn't work that way.
Guess you're not as cool as Verizon.
Bring in your AT&T or T-Mobile bill for a better deal.
You don't know that?
Red Bull gives you wings.
Chovy 加油！
All
Welcome back to Worlds 2025 semi-finals, where KT somehow have picked up game 1 versus GenG.
Lore's gone, right?
Yeah, Lore's gone.
Okay.
Lore's gone.
You're safe now.
You excited?
Well, yeah, I'm done. I've been the guy on the LCK broadcast the whole year that said curses aren't real. GenG just straight up got outplayed in game 1 by KT. KT haven't lost a single game yet at Worlds.
Yeah.
8-0.
We have to acknowledge the fact that they just look insanely good, that clearly the team is working on all cylinders, that no amount of adversity, at least in that first game, was able to get them down, and that they're currently up 1-0 in semifinals.
Yeah, seriously, because it's not even like KT played a picture-perfect game, and you're like, well, can they repeat that? Because Peter, I think, looked nervous. At times, he was pretty disjointed from the rest of the team. Some of those engages were not timed well. They got caught out at certain moments. GenG did some really, really good things. Their play around vision and actually in denying the soul and delaying that and getting both of the Barons. Like, there was a lot of good things that were happening for GenG. There were some mistakes from KT. But KT were able to persevere, and that's the thing that I think I didn't expect coming into this series is I thought KT could win games, but I thought if they were going to win a game, it would have been like a clean snowball start to finish where GenG just doesn't seem to be able to get purchased. I didn't expect them to be able to overcome everything that went wrong in this game and still win.
And partly that's because of the way way KT plays, but also partly it's the way that GenG plays as we get into our Champion Select powered by Omen and HyperX, because GenG, when they have a grasp on a game, they give you nothing. It is so rare that you're able to fight back against a team like GenG. So credit to KT for doing that. We'll see if they can do it again, because you have to remember some of their favorite picks were removed in that first pick map.
Yeah, I'm really interested in this Trundle because Sion's already out, so it makes me think of the Keen Sante as an early pick, potentially. You know, when I think Trundle getting banned, I think about, you know, okay, maybe I want to play Xin Zhao, or I think about playing tanks top. So, you know, higher priority on that for GenG. And so I'm really interested to see, is KT going to be concerned about that, and will they throw bans towards, you know, either the Keen Sante or something like that Xin Zhao?
And from a gameplay perspective, something we do want to highlight again, I want to hone in on a couple of specific champions. Rumble for Perfect, Yone for BDD, and the Peter, or Peter.
Nico for Peter. Yeah.
We really need to highlight those, because from a pure gameplay perspective, it was an expensive game for KT. There were also a couple of the champions that they also love, which are the Sion, the Taliyah, taken away from them. But for me, going in, I also need to see a GenG be able to do a mental reset. They talked about the weight of the expectations. They are the heavy favorite coming in here today. And losing a game like that, particularly in this long, drawn-out manner where it feels like you are in control many a time, is tough. And I'm looking at Xin Zhao here, and yeah, there we go. I haven't finished my sentence. It has been one of the comfort picks for Canyon. Outside of the Trundle, we haven't really seen any jungler be consistently insane into it. Very well-rounded, and Canyon wasn't quite able to have the early impact in that one when it comes to impacting the lanes. Might have to see something different here.
I mean, pretty much all the kind of like S-tier AD junglers are now going to be gone, because we did see Vi Jarvan taken out early. Wukong is banned. We have the Trundle banned, and we have the Xin picked away. So we think, Kenzie, I was going to say, that more the kind of like assassins and stuff, like Kiana, or things that are a little bit less common. And we are, in fact, actually going to get a Kiana for Cuz, which, you gotta love the confidence, man.
I mean, it's also an LCK Kiana, and I saw Mao flinch a little bit when that was logged in, because as a region, they don't have the best track record with this pick.
Yeah, we really don't, and I think that is partially due to, obviously, LCK playstyle, but also just plain mastery. Even players that I have held in high regard in the past, Canyon used to be a really good Kiana.
Yeah, that's so weird to me.
Has just not looked good on it whatsoever. The other reason why I flinch is just, to me, KT look best when Cuz gets the impact early lanes. I think he fulfills a very, very similar role to junglers like Kanavi, to junglers like Owner, that are there to get their team going in the early game, set up a lot of these skirmishes. I do think Kiana, if the early couple of fights don't go well, can really struggle in that regard.
She really does, and for Cuz, he's bringing it out for the first time in his professional career in the first World semi-final that KT have made. It's incredible. The Rise locked in for BDD, immediate answer of Ambessa Galio. Now, Chovy's Taliyah win rate was knocked down a peg in game 1, but this Galio so often banned away from GenG because of how much of an impact their mid laner can have.
Also a lot of agency here for Keen, who I think tried his best in that last game, but on sign, I think you're always going to be a little bit hamstrung. Peter gets access to his Alistar, and that Alistar-Kiana combo does have a ton of CC available early on. But if you are looking at GenG, the amount of backline dive that they have this time around is much more comparable to what KT was playing with in game 1.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just very difficult playing Qiyana into a Galio, right? Because you're really reliant on the grass blade to be, have these kind of like pockets of invisibility, but you can just be taunted out of it. You can be hit by that AoE. And having Keen with more agency in this game, I think, is big, because to me, he was the best player from GenG in game 1. I thought he actually played really well on the side, found so many key moments where he was actually getting picks and setting up plays for the team. And a lot of focus on these defensive supports getting banned away from KT. Obviously, they're going to be playing dive, so they're banning out the Braum, they're banning out the Poppy. Two of those really important defensive supports for Duro.
Siva and Keen, I was going to say Cassante, taken away by GenG. KT here, likely looking towards their AD carry. You can pick top because top is already locked on the other side, so you know the matchup you're in, but leaving top for counter pick last is often what we see when you are on the red side. GenG electing to go on the blue once again. It is the Rex side, so we're going to have that AD carry locked in last for KT.
So I'm looking Ziggs and I'm looking Jin here, possibly for GenG. Ziggs a pick that once upon a time Ruler would not have been seen on, being the traditional AD carry guy, but he has added hits to his repertoire, and I think that the combo with both Zinzao and Ambessa is really, really strong. So, need to see what they're going to commit towards. This is a lot more safety. Ruler is one of our best Ezreals. Does mean that you're going to be playing the Ezreal in what I imagine will be a Kai'Sa. I'm double checking, but that pick is still available, as it's often picked into Ezreal for the ability get on top of it in later fights.
Yeah, and Duro, prioritizing the engage. The other option is, of course, just going something like Ezreal Karma and playing more for the 2v2. But then you are really kind of lacking as far as the primary engage goes. So this feels more like the GenG style, to just have Duro be that primary engage, to be able to have that point and click CC to start things up. And it is, in fact, going to get locked in. And Kai'Sa makes a lot of sense. I think if you're trying to stay safe from the dive, you can play Poke Varus as well and just kind of try to stay back further away. Try to stay safe in that way.
The issue becomes, though, you have an Ambessa, you have a Xin Zhao, and then you have the follow-up from a Galio on top of that. If you do ever get caught as the Varus, you are in for a very sticky situation. Could go for something like the Xayah if you want to be able to avoid that public execution, but Varus does give you good poke. It allows the engage from the Qiyana to be a little bit stronger. You've also got the Chain of Corruption for that extra CC layering.
Yeah, and one of the things I just really like about it is that it has the ability to follow up on your frontline diving fairly deep, right? If you have Qiyana, flashing in for an ultimate, sometimes you can hit that piercing arrow over the top, or you follow up, with the Chains of Corruption. You can have a very high amount of burst, because there is no real true tank over on the GenG side, so they can be quite susceptible to the damage that Dr. does. I'm definitely expecting it to be Poke Varus. And people just kind of have these different approaches to how they want to play out, against some of these dive comps. So it'll be interesting to see how Dr. can pilot it, because definitely have to stay safe, as you're saying. If you step too far forward, you're so easy to get picked off without flash.
And after last game, KT coming out of draft, I think every KT fan looked upon that with a lot of relief. There was a ton of comfort, there was a lot of tested, known quantities that you knew your players would be good at. This time around, BDD's Rise, no notes there, but I'm looking towards that Rek'Sai for Perfect and the Qiyana. We've seen both those picks, I think, really vary extremely heavily in their performance in this tournament. And they are very vital parts of the composition. The combination specifically is what's going to get them reliable backline access. But both these teams are basically going to bash their heads into each other. So also going to have to see how both the Ezreal and the Varus survive.
Yeah, what the power of the Bruisers can do in a game like this. And on the side of GenG, you talk about comfort for KT. Well, GenG have Chovy's Galio that is 20-3 this year, and Keen's Ambessa that he's never lost on, 10-0 on the pick. So I'm pretty sure GenG will be comfortable enough, although KT fans will tell us they already got rid of the Taliyah win rate in game 1. They've already upset the apple cart, so to speak. KT at this Worlds have been a constant slew of surprises as we get on into game 2. Remember, if you are at home, you can log into your Riot account on LoyalEsports.com and watch Worlds live to earn exclusive Worlds emotes, icons, and capsules. You can join in, spam those emotes, It's GenG looking perhaps for a little bit of an invade. Now, Perfect will see them with that Tremor Sense. Canyon's going to step forward. BDD and Docdam are here. It's going to be a 4v3. Peter comes across to make it a 5v3, and GenG wisely back away.
Yeah, not wanting to run any big risks. Want to highlight something that has been more and more prevalent this tournament, which makes sense with the popularity of lane swaps, but it's actually double TP here for both bot laners. Now, we saw it on the Lethality Varus specifically, more and more throughout this tournament, and Ruler has decided to match that. I do think as Ezreal, you get a lot easier away with it than you do as Varus.
And it's kind of something we've seen in previous metas as that evolution. When people start taking the TP, then slowly you start getting kind of sustained out of lane where they're just poking you down, pushing you in, then TPing back and kind of lane locking you. So then people start to just do TP to match. And I agree. I mean, Ezreal is one of those champions that can definitely get away with it. That being said, hey, maybe you get punished later on for not having a cleanse or having a combat summoner. So it is definitely something that I think is really not even a debate. It's just stronger for lane. The question is, do you get punished later on?
Small optimization from Juro there, going for the W, that shield, Titan's Wrath, to actually be able to walk up into the Alistar level 1. You don't need the hook. You can just walk at him. What's he going to do? Knock you up into the air? You still come down where you're standing. So uses the shield, steps forward, gets a little bit more pressure in the lane. And because of that, I mean, because also they have an Alistar, Docdam and Peter have to step away from the level 2.
You see the early prio found there. That was something that was already a big issue for them in the last game. And then both junglers will be pathing towards the bottom half of the map. Obviously, Zinzao, if there is a lot of trading, has a great early game dive. Yana a lot more conditional, as the struggle for Chovy, obviously, in the early, like first back at least, sometimes even into the second, but once you get enough wave clear, the Galio obviously is able to just shrug off the damage from the Rise.
I'm always just so interested in watching a lot of these Rek'Sai lanes because it has been such a champion that is really hit or miss at Worlds, right? Some people make it look so oppressive where they have you locked under your tower, they're taking down plates, they're slowly pressuring you and just utilizing that sustain to create these big advantages. And then other people are kind of just farming even and then looking useless, right? So we have to see, can Perfect perform well on this champ? Because to me, the early game really does set the tone for what kind of a game you're going to have on Rek'Sai.
We get the knock up here onto Keen with that Unburrow. Forces Keen a little bit lower, but Keen, he doesn't use mana, nor does Perfect. Obviously, we can just spam through some of those shields, dash around the wave. Does lose at the early game, but with the second win, with the Doran shield, you're always just going to be able to keep yourself topped up.
And we see Kiana crossing over towards the top side of the map because he has prio there. Not really able to contest for a bot side. As I say that though, looks like Canyon is looking to match. And that is going to be tough. He does feel confident, I imagine, in the 1v1, but yeah, there's going to be a little bit of a time waste for him. Could be looking towards BDD though.
Gonna run towards that middle lane. BDD needs to get the hell out of here. Chovy's on the chase. BDD flashes and face plants in the wall. GenG claimed first blood.
Yeah, BDD, I think, got a false sense of security. Because Cuz was taking the topside scuttle, I think his read is, oh, that means Canyon is on bot scuttle, so I'm going to play so heavily towards that top side. He was not expecting the Zinzao to be there, and I think that really did bite him. Gets completely surprised, doesn't react with the flash, then late flash into the wall. It's kind of just the exact opposite of how last game started, where Chovy died, wasted his flash.
Yeah, that's now 2 for 2 on flashes that make me and Azil look at each other in pain, because both of those didn't quite hit the mark. I thought actually a BDD's call was just, I am dead and I'm going to hold on to my flash, which in hindsight definitely feels like that would have been the play, because now it's the flip side situation where not only in terms of BDD going down, but also because now Chovy is in the one in the matchup that is expected to struggle a little bit early.
Yeah, against a champion like Galio for Chovy, BDD is really going to struggle as he gets towards these first few items, 20 and 3. Across the course of 2025. You can see he's just constantly dominating. Even on these picks that are a little bit tanky, still putting out a ton of damage from that mid lane.
And we'll have to see. Perfect has to be a little bit careful here because he is down a bit on XP, and Keen can get 6, I think, on this wave. So Perfect is trying to make sure that he's thinning it out enough. You don't want to get caught on a bad trade, surprised by those level up timings. That is one of the opportunities that sometimes you have on a champion like Ambessa, and Perfect will just realize, you know what, I can't actually contest this. He's going to get 6 first, I got to back up.
It bows away on the exact minion that Keen was going to hit that 6. Smart play there from Perfect, just backs underneath his tower. Does mean Keen will get the first recall out of this top, but shouldn't be too much of a bother as GenG start up the dragon down towards this bottom side. TP coming out from Docdam as he looks to match the push that Ruler's had, but again, it's another summoner that's been burnt by KT that GenG haven't had to invest. Ruler was able to just walk across here. Cuz looking for the steal.
And it's kind of a flip situation. This time it's KT trying to get access to that dragon.
Duro on that front line. The hook lands onto Peter. Cuz gets the root down. Piercing arrow again onto Duro as he falls low. He has to flash away. The knockback onto Chovy. separates the fight. Drake secured by GenG, double flash of the root still onto Ruler. Dokdam looking to put the arrows into the back of his enemy man. The Realm War back as Peter's getting onto that backline, but GenG immediately turn and burn. But Canyon is the one who is aflame. Hero's entrance will not be a good exit for Chovy, as now he needs to escape the clutches of KT. They've already lost 2. GenG trying to get Ruler out of here as the chase down towards the bottom side. Chovy against Cuz has to burn the flash, but finds him still. KT come out on top.
Cuz is feeling himself, and rightly so. 3 kills early for the Kiana. Played that fight brilliantly, spacing out so many of the abilities there from Chovy. Even using the Realm War perfectly there, as Peter was able to find a great angle for a re-engage.
And the hesitation from GenG in that contest feels like it was very well punished by KT, because normally in these type of fights it will be Duro and Canyon running the play. But what you can see here, even with Chovy, a lot of damage goes down onto Peter, but he obviously doesn't care, being Alistair. And then Chovy doesn't actually with that taunt set up for any meaningful damage. I thought he was just going to go for an ultimate here, but he holds onto it and the re-engage fails.
And look at the spacing here from Cuz, how he actually plays out these next moments as they go back in. You know, Chovy tries to find this re-engage, and then Cuz steps out, is able to just barely dodge this taunt here as he dashes out. Chovy tried to hit both, and they both just kind of back off on either side. He wasn't able to hit anyone, so Ruler gets chased down on one side. Cuz is able to follow through and get the kill there to take down Chovy, gets his ult, gets his flash. BDD is looking pumped. And it's moments like these that you have to wonder, how nervous is GenG feeling? Because the pressure is going to be mounting. Something goes bad in game 2. You know, is that in the back of your mind? The expectations are so high for this team, and rightfully so, but a mistake early in game 2 when you're already down 1 is tough.
And on the other side, how hype are KT feeling, right? Coming into this, as we see Peter look for the engage onto Juro, we'll get the trample down, the hook's gonna land as Cuz dives in. Supreme display of talent, the Nautilus falls first, but meanwhile the Crescent Guard from Cannon keeps him alive. Peter gets the knock up and a knock back. Ruler gets the shutdown though, as 2 will fall. GenG bite back in the game.
Yeah, that was not the fight to go there for KT. They try to full send it, but they're sending it onto Duro with Ruler just free firing on you. And Ruler gets both of those kills and a big shutdown off of Cuz. Plus, they're going to be able to get the grubs off the back of this as well. Ruler in prime position to be able to carry now. 1K up this early.
And it shows how quickly these games can swing. Like, we were literally in the middle of talking about how KT had a really good early game, and now the gold basically even, 2 neutral objectives to 0 in favor of GenG. They get all 3 grubs. They're 1 neutral away from that feat of objective slaying, and Cuz does have the Profane Hydra complete, does have an 800 gold lead, can start to steal away some of these camps with the help of Peter. This is where Kiana can really shine, just out-farming your enemy man. But they've been stymied. They've been suppressed a little bit. That early game hype, not quite as high as they look to see if Canyon oversteps. Keen here as well. The wards go down, and KT back away.
Possible trap, but still, a couple of jungle camps being found there for Cuz. He's going to be happy. A little bit of extra pressure there for Perfect. But that was definitely an unforced error for KT. They could have just backed out of that play towards top side. Really wanted to play, I think, on Cuz, having his ultimate available, but bit off a lot more than they could chew. We're still seeing, though, as you highlighted the Zil, and I want to echo it again, GenG generally is a team that in these early games, either they're doing something right or they're not doing anything right. They're looking for a cross map, they're trying to set up for an objective, they're trying to go for a macro play. Some of these early skirmishes, KT has just been straight up outplaying them, with the Profane Hydra now done, with Ruler having his Triforce. Those are the 2 strongest members on the Rift right now.
And Ruler on this Ezreal is not the one you wanted to have all the gold here, as he is going to be tough to take down, but is missing Combat Summoner. You're not going to be playing Cleanse Barrier or anything like that, so perhaps a little bit more vulnerable than he otherwise would be. But still very difficult to even just close the gap and get in on him. Plus you have all of this defensive power here from Chovy, who's going to be there to peel if you're over-sending it onto Ruler.
Overall, KT, although they had a bit of a stumble, still in a good position in this game. Rune Prison, Chain of Corruption for the chase onto Chovy, who doesn't have his flash back up. Exhausted, the Justice Punch will get him to safety. The hail of arrows, not enough. to bring down the Galio. BDD still going to push in here as Chovy uses the Winds of War, misses the wave. But with only 2 minions left alive, BDD will just have to settle for a plate. TP down towards the bottom side as Juro and Ruler set up around this Drake.
Still successful play though. Chovy gonna be bullied out here early. The prio is there for KT. They're again building a gold lead. This time though, GenG got the first Drake. They're looking to try and play for a second. Perfect thing gonna finish his Titanic Hydra on the base. Keen might be able to finish his first as well. Could be looking at some double TPs coming in here. Peter has taken a little bit of damage already though.
Perfect is still proxying, so he must not have the gold just yet. He wants to kill one more wave, then probably look for the base. But I mean, Peter is chunked out. The base just now coming in from Perfect, so there's no way you can contest. GenG gonna be able to grab this one, no problem. And they are the ones now with 2 early dragons here. It's gonna be an Ocean Soul up for grabs, which could be pretty good, honestly, with a lot of kind of the beefy boys over on the GenG side, I feel like.
Yeah, Ocean Soul and Bessa, that does not sound like a good time once we get deeper into the game. Yeah.
It's all about how much you can disengage her, how much you can stop her getting onto that backline, because you do have tools. You've got Headbutt Pulverize, Chain of Corruption, you've got the Unburrow coming out from Rek'Sai. If Keen is diving in there, can you just CC him for long enough to take him out before the Ocean Soul really does its work? We're still a long way away from that, at least 10 minutes before GenG can claim that as their prize. 2.5 minutes as well before the Herald is coming up, so let's just have a look at where our lanes are assigned. Got the AD carries meeting in the mid lane, the supports meeting up towards this topside river. Juro looks for the hook, Cuz is on his way across, and Ruler won't arcane shift forward, which could have been a little bit tricky for him to extricate himself from.
Do want to highlight BDD looking at the CS, actually a substantial amount of, now part of that is obviously due to the attention that has been paid, but part of it is also just Chovy thus far on his Galio, not really having the impact, got outplayed in the early fight. BDD with a much earlier power spike here, already sitting on 2 stacks on his Rod of Ages.
See the damage coming down from Keen. He's got that Eclipse complete and perfect. Has to use his passive just to heal himself up. Keen handily winning the trades in that solo top lane matchup now.
I just always feel like Mbessa is a completely different champion once you have the Eclipse. You know, it's especially for HP stackers, whether you're a tank or something like this Rek'Sai. The trades just become so horrible after Mbessa is post 6 with Eclipse. All of a sudden, you just can't really hurt her. It becomes very difficult to deal with. That being said, because you have Titanic, it doesn't really matter. You can kind of just fight the wave and just one-shot the wave over and over, keep her off the tower. But definitely Keen, back-to-back games in a good spot here. Again, really impressed me on this Ion. I just can't sing this guy's praises enough. He really has been so incredible. Can do anything that GenG asks of him, regardless of the role, regardless of your weak side, strong side. He is just fantastic.
Yeah, and so long did he try to get to this position in the LCK, try to manage to get through all of the ranks. He's gone from 10th to champion across the course of his career, and last year really the year that he came to the fore in the minds of many around the world. As we saw KT looking for something up towards that top side, weren't quite able to find it. There was a Herald up in a minute's time, so Peter and BDD are just going to team up to deny some vision. There's still a lot of wards for GenG around the bottom side of that river.
And in a sport where there's so many players that just never get on the team that actually gets it done, never get the support that they need, it's such a feel-good story of a player that just kept his form throughout all those years until there was a core around and that could actually support him. Obviously starting with that breakout year in 2023 KT.
I mean, even beyond that, it's just hard to look good on a bad team, right? Like, it's so hard to even have people pay attention to you because League is such a team game, and when other lanes are losing, the map can just fall apart very, very quickly. Especially on a pretty team-dependent role like top lane. So it is just so impressive to see how resilient he has been throughout his career, and I love to see players like that really getting their due, really getting their recognition after being able to kind of grind their way up from the literal bottom of the LCK.
Looking at the game state right now, we have 2 item spikes approaching for a couple of the members. Most notably, Ruler really wants to try and finish that second item, get the stack set up. In about a minute, we'll have the Drake fight set up. Minute and a half until the Drake actually spawned, and it will be a must fight for KT. They have a really strong ability, I think, to both rotate around that with the Realm Warp, as well as use the power of that Rek'Sai and Kiana to get on the back line. GenG, not going to let them breathe, starts up the Herald.
Herald begun, TP coming in. KT looking to cut Duro and Ruler off from an easy path up towards the river. Canyon realizes it, backs away from the Herald, which will reset its patience in a moment. Chovy TPing in. The hook's going to land, though, as they look for Peter. Flashes in, headbutt pulverized, supreme display of talent as well, but only onto Chovy. The redemption comes out as Ruler. Arcane shifts forward. He wants part of this fight. Canyon with the Crescent Guard. Chain of Corruption will lock him up, and it missed times as they go in. Ruler able to pick up one, another hook coming out from Duro. The depth charge on the back line into the taunt from Chovy. GenG rule the rift as KT can find nothing.
GenG showcasing their incredible team fighting here. That was just immaculate. Early force on the ult from Peter. They back off. They avoid Cuz on the re-engage. And then Ruler finds space on the side of the fight to go aggressive. Duro finds another hook. And GenG were just dancing around that fight perfectly.
And what goes up must come down as the roller coaster, yet another hurdle on the journey. Peter gets engaged on early, tries to re-engage, get value out of his ultimate, but not gonna be enough. As the chase from Ruler in particular, the big point for me here, he is completely unmatched. Finds Peter, but then this hook, almost bending it around the wall. The follow-up from Chovy is great. And rightly so, Perfect Bisco, guys. I am not joining this fight. I am just going to make sure we get the turret, and I think that got them defeats as well. As KT, another setback. Now, that hasn't really been permanent when it comes to the setbacks. They've been extremely resilient, and we will see if they can replicate that in this Dragon fight.
Ruler now 2,500 gold ahead of his opposite man, already on his going towards his third item as Docdam only sits on one. Perfect looking for the flank. The Drake begun. Hex flash forward. Canyon dives onto Peter. Riptail has been summoned towards the topsiders. They go in for the fight, and we see KT able to secure the Drake, but Peter now needs to retreat. Perfect up towards the top side, trying to distract Canyon. Peter falling lower. Down comes the anchor and sends him into the depths. GenG find another. For KT, they got the Drake, and that's really all they wanted. Riptail charges in. Perfect matches it. Should be able to kill it off. Duro with a good hook away, but BDD still on the chase. Depth charge! Arcane shift! Mystic shot from Ruler, but into the supreme display of talent as KT turn it around. Canyon forced away as they chase forward onto him. Perfect finds another. KT turn around the fight.
And it's straight up disrespect from GenG, looking for exit kills, and KT says thank you very much as Ruler tries to replicate the last play, but instead just arcane shifts to his doom.
Perfect wants more. He's potentially going to go in here onto Keen.
Looking for Keen, who does still have that flash. And in the end, KT will back away from the play. Cuz able to steal more of these camps away. The gold lead Ruler had cut by 800. He is still the most fed player in the game, but KT have shown if GenG overstep, they'll pounce.
It's just incredible. You know, you're going up against a team that I would say probably greater than 80% of people coming in thought were going to be the runaway favorites. We're supposed to win this event. You're falling behind. You're giving arguably the best AD carry of all time a massive gold lead, almost an entire item ahead, and then you're saying, nah, I just win.
And they do, and this is a split call, I think, here from GenG, because Ruler going in that aggressive when there is no follow-up. Keen was basing. They clearly weren't expecting KT to play this heavily towards holding on to that mid lane pressure, and that is a lot of gold being reinvested, and what goes down in KT Rollercoaster's case also must go back up again.
Exactly, just for the acceleration, and I've got to say, when you're an underdog, you can never play with fear. If a play fails, you have to just go right back at them. Play towards the strengths of your competition, and I think that's something that KT has done beautifully through these two games. They're not just saying, all right, it went bad, let's just try to scale, we'll sit back. They're going to pounce on every single opportunity that GenG give them.
And KT couldn't be bigger underdogs. You have to look at it. We talked about the predictions earlier on today, but
right on pace for my prediction. I don't know what you're talking about.
Already. Most of us are just wrong already. Or everyone predicting that 3-0 for GenG. A couple of 3-1s here or there. As they'll... I'm sorry, I know you were memeing. I know you were joking.
Dead serious.
Dead serious. Okay.
My honest prediction, 3-0. I don't know. I just don't know why you guys didn't see it.
Hindsight is 20/20. I've got to say.
It's the Peter angle, you know?
Into the future, apparently. As KT now with a slight gold lead. It's not over yet. They are still very even in this game. For GenG, you still have Ruler, one of the best AD carries, if not the best AD carry in the world, on a pick that is so hard to pick off. He is still on his way to that third item, but for KT, these small moments, these small fights really start to accelerate things in their favor.
It's still, though, night and day between how GenG looked against Hanwha Life and how they look against KT now, right? And that is just the intangibles, the fact that Chovy is in another semi-final, something that most players dream of ever achieving. But for him, it's just been a hurdle. And right now, 2 item spikes, hit for Keen as well. He has come through for GenG so many times as I think they're looking towards Otacon.
And you can't overstate it enough, right? When, for Chovy, really the only thing he hasn't done is won Worlds, right? He's won LCK a bunch of times, he's won MSI, he's dominated in every other conceivable way. You work your entire year long for these couple games that you're playing, and the amount of pressure that he must be putting on these games, on himself in these moments, is just immense, because it doesn't matter what he did the rest of the year. If you don't win at Worlds, for Chovy, that's a failure. That's the level of player he is.
He said it himself. It's not just about the win. It's about playing well alongside it. He puts so much pressure on himself to perform in moments like this, and to fall at not quite the final hurdle, but one short of it again would be such a disappointment for him as a player and for GenG as a lineup. 8 years since they last made it to the finals, 8 years since they last won the World Championship as Samsung Galaxy. There it was T1 they met. Here I feel we've talked a lot about how this year matches 2017 in many different ways. For GenG, they damn well hope it does, as Keen and Perfect meet down towards this bottom side. We have 20 seconds left on the Drake. Would be sole point for GenG, would be the second for KT. Otacon available, but we've seen enough throws at that throughout this Worlds. And I don't think either of these teams are gonna immediately go for it unless they find the perfect window.
I mean, that's the thing. We keep seeing that, but teams still have the confidence to start it, right?
True.
They're gonna go right to it. And we've seen that time and time and time again. But Dragon spawning here in 5 seconds. KT with good positioning here once again in the area. You can see Chovy is moving down. BDD is going to TP early to be with the squad, but we'll see if they just are going to start it. It looks like they will.
Double TP.
A couple of wards in the back of the pit from GenG as they look to gain vision around it. Perfect looking for that flank. No wards where he is. Juro going in with the hook. Drake down to 6,000. Perfect still peeking his head out as they dive in. Canyon looking for the steal here, but it's Cuz that gets it. BDD forced to flash away here as Angels from Chovy in the pit. Keen diving forward. Ruler caught out by Perfect. Canyon falling lower as Cuz finds 2. KT winning the fight on the bottom side, but the top side is all in favor of Keen. Ruler almost going down. Chovy still on the chase. Dogdam trying to get away. Perfect and Peter trying to protect him. The flash away from Dogdam. The taunt short from Chovy. Chovy falls. Only the top laners left alive, and Perfect will burrow his way away.
What a team fight from Keen, though, and what a team fight from these two teams. It is an absolute bloodbath, but it's Cuz that walks away, importantly, with the Dragon here, grabbing another one for his team. Keen just solos out BDD, though, in the face of Perfect. He had an incredible fight here, really keeping it close.
And it's starting to feel like GenG, again, not quite the timing right there to deny X's for Cuz. And look at these health bars here multiple times. BDD on the edges of this fight. Perfect actually finding Ruler at the beginning. And as a result, Ruler can't quite dish out the damage. And then right here, Dogdam staying alive really buys the time for Perfect to then get back on top. There's no cooldowns, and you can see on the face of Cuz, he's feeling himself on this Kiana. Giant gold lead here for him. And he's been getting the better end of Canyon in this entire series.
Look at the damage from Dogdam. 7,000 in a single fight on that Varus. For KT, every fight like that is elation. You're the underdog. It is your rebellion. You're taking down the champions elect. For GenG, every fight like that, excruciating. Every moment you're like, oh, we could have won it. We could have got the Drake. We would have been on sole point. And now GenG will call for a fight at Otacon. KT will muster their men and we'll see another battle.
Yeah, Perfect's TPing already, but BDD is moving over. They are a little bit slow to join here, and Duro could just try to control this tri-brush. It looks like a difficult approach, and KT, they're going back for the red buff to try to buy time, but that's been spotted. They're too late now, it feels like.
Cuz might look for the steal. Baron coming onto the rift, but GenG already secured the Otacon. KT backing away. Cuz still looking for that supreme display of talent, a game changer around terrain like this, but in the end, it will just be the red buff to KT, the Otacon to GenG.
And that's a trade that GenG will more than happily take. obviously going to be very happy that they're able to, again, get this lead. When it comes to the pedals, Otacon has been so very highly valued by teams. That's the only conclusion you can draw, because it feels like teams keep taking a very big risk to secure it. Mid lane turret still stands. KT might be looking for a punish.
Tower down to about a third. Rockdown coming in from the side as well. Does have that chain of corruption, but in the end, GenG will back away without pushing the tempo any further. Gold basically even, 2 Drakes apiece. The Otacon really the only difference between the two. The chain of corruption into the hail of arrows. Ruler needs the protection of Chovy to keep him alive, and he'll find it. KT, though, now having chunked out the enemy AD carry, can push for the tower.
Really well played there by Doctom, just playing around vision around that corner. Gets Ruler so incredibly low, they're threatening.
GenG have to back away. The risk of getting knocked up there, the follow-up from Peter would have been enough. Supreme display of talent, obviously down from Cuz. But KT will take the tier 1 in mid. We'll see what GenG do around these resets. Sometimes when a team finds a pick like that, at least on a tower, you see them backing away and then they lose their tower in response. But KT are keeping Doctam around to defend.
And Doctam sitting here with that Serpent's Fang, actually able to negate a lot of the shielding to come through for so many members on GenG. For Duro, for Keen, for Chovy. We saw the damage he was able to output there as GenG gonna start off this Baron. I think trying to catch KT off guard. KT does know this is happening.
BDD's in the bot side, does have the teleport and will use it immediately to come up here. It was on a reset, instead TP's in. GenG with that Baron down to 6k. The hook's gonna land onto Peter. He pops the Unbreakable Will to try and walk away. Cannon goes in with the Crescent Guard, but they can't find the damage onto the cow. Perfect, chipping away at them from the bottom side. Chovy's still looking for chase. In the end, it's an Alistar ultimate, and KT disengage.
Yeah, that got pretty dicey for GenG. Peter, again, this was an issue in that first game. Going a little bit too far ahead of the rest of the team. Loses his ulti, and he is not going to be punished for it, but we'll see if they can find anything.
And we'll see if GenG's happy with that, because that was, to me, felt like they wanted to get cooldowns to play for Dragon, right? Yeah. Because the moment that the teleports came through, they immediately backed off. Chovy still has his, so he can now be a sideline pressure point. Same for Keen. And this is going to be soul point for whichever team picks it up. Both Doctom and Ruler have access to their flashes. BDD just now finishes his Void Staff. Third item for Cuz as well.
The problem for GenG is they don't really have vision around this area at all. They've got a single control ward, now a couple in that mid lane bush. Peter caught out with a hook once again as he has to flash away. Has the honey fruit to pop himself up as Ruler lands the damage across the wall. He couldn't see him. It was blind, and Ruler finds his man. KT now a man down, can't defend. The Drake secured, so point for GenG.
Yeah, the problem is they're just going to go to Baron, I think, here, and they're just going to force your hand. Peter getting caught back-to-back fights. This time he doesn't have the ulti. And BDD and Perfect were pretty late to the fight, so GenG just walked through mid. They get the Dragon, they go to Soul Point, they take tier 1, and now they're going to put pressure here onto the Baron. And Peter's not up for 10.
Cuz is going to look for the steal. Ruler wisely standing on this side of the wall, now dashes in with that arcane shift. Perfect clears out a bit of vision. Cuz hasn't been seen here. GenG, the Baron down to 6.5k. Canyon and Ruler still on it. Cuz still looking for the steal. Perfect and BDD down towards the bottom side, distracting the rest of GenG. Cuz can jump in. The Winds of War from Chovy. Duro knocked up. Redemption out. Canyon almost falling as Cuz dives into the pit. There's no jungler there. Canyon goes in, and he manages to land the smite. KT now on the back foot. Public execution from Keen, not quite connected.
Canyon woke up.
KT turn and burn. Peter's here for a little bit more. The hero's entrance won't be quick enough to save his support. Perfect diving onto that backline. Chovy falling lower. Keen forced away towards the top side. Chovy with a stopwatch. Doctam can't land. The piercing arrow through that. Flash away. The Realm Warp gets KT out, but GenG secure the Baron.
And GenG, they walk away with the objective. But that felt anything or nothing like the GenG we're used to. KT, a little bit of an overstep there towards the end. Again, looking for that blade to equalize it. As the Rebel Baron power play will be in favor of GenG, but that was close.
I mean, let's be honest, it came down to a complete burger flip. Canyon got chunked down very low here. It was Doctom again, beautiful all over the wall, gets him low, and then Cuz is on the Baron, but Canyon flashes back in, able to finish it off. That was so close. If KT walking around away with that Baron, it is devastating for GenG. And then again, this re-engage this time from Peter was beautiful. Chovy comes through with the ulti, but Doctam and BDD the whole time are just free firing, getting so much work done in these fights.
And Doctam just unchecked in any of these fights. As you can see, the KT coaches still not used, despite everything on being on the roller coaster. It never gets old. Rula doing an incredible amount of damage in that fight, and now GenG, we've seen him in his position. Last time it was Kenyon going in too deep. They get a redo this time around.
BDD's pushing in a side lane. KT have already given up the ghost on this inhibitor and, well, at least the tower. GenG can push for more. Chovy's pushing in mid for that tier 2. The inhibitor will go down on the bottom side as KT look to defend their mid tower. BDD does have the TP. Chovy's a little bit isolated here. Rula Arcane shifts across to make sure his Galio can walk to safety. GenG now with this Baron power play, 4K out of it.
Yeah, creating a pretty large advantage, but they are not out of it just yet. GA completed, Zonia's completed, second GA now coming through. Canyon and Keen both have theirs done. But we can't count KT out. They have shown us in this series their resilience, how much they are just fighting and scrapping for everything. GenG absolutely in control. But really, it's eyes on this next dragon. 145. If KT can get that dragon, the game will absolutely continue. But you have to think with the lead that GenG already have, if they claim Soul, it's pretty much theirs.
Look at how close that is to game 1, man. Like, this is exactly the same time it started going up for GenG. And that fall at the end of the climb of the coaster for KT is exactly what they wanted. True Shot Barrage takes half of Dokdam's HP. Almost a K off his total.
Yeah, that's an unhappy duck. That was not great. We'll see if GenG can turn it into anything more, though. Giant Wave Crash here will get them at least a good amount of damage, but it does look like KT have been able to hold off on most of this. Obviously, the big issue is that upcoming possibility for a Soul mid lane turret also will fall as the rest of KT just looking to base and setting up for this upcoming fight.
And you always have to get concerned when it's going to come down to one of these objective fights about the vision, right? When you look at GenG, how they're playing in this space, taking that over, sweeping out wards. Yeah, the Baron's gone, but you know that KT had been locked up in their base for so long that they haven't been able to get out on the map and reclaim vision. And Peter has been getting picked a number of times, and it could be a repeat.
Flash hook, immediately they look for Cards, they'll take out the jungler. Ruler finds the kill, and now Peter tries to flash away, tries to get to safety. KT will shepherd him back into the base, but GenG don't even need to turn towards that Drake yet. They can push for the tier 2 on the top side, they can push for the inhib tower on mid.
And GenG not wanting to repeat their mistakes of game number 1 when Canyon went in way too deep this time, waiting for them to approach. That should just be the Soul, right? That should just be the Ocean Soul going over to GenG, making the side laning Mbessa even more impressive than it already is.
I mean, it's the exact same spot that Keen set up that pick last game, like you're saying, you know, but then it was Canyon going too far. It was the fight getting turned around. This time, they basically get a redo, and they do it perfectly. Dogdom jumped very low, and now you have to think, I mean, Lethality Varus against Ocean Soul, it is so hard to really have much value. You are now looking really for 100-0 type plays, right? You have got to find that perfect engage, burst someone down before they have a chance to get value from that Ocean Soul, or you just don't have much of a chance.
And you already highlighted as though I'm looking at 1 GA, 2 GA, Stopwatch, Mercurial Scimitar, and then I guess Nautilus, you know, that could work.
Yeah, you could kill him.
Redemption Locket. Redemption Locket's pretty hard to get through.
He doesn't even have flash right now.
I mean, look, he's a guy from the ocean with an Ocean Soul. I think that gives him like double power out of it or something,
bonus.
you know?
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
It's going to be really difficult for KT to find a way back into this game, but we said that in game 1.
And I will say, if you can hang on for these next 5 minutes here, you know, we're assuming that GenG should have prior over the Baron. Elder is the great equalizer.
Elder flip.
Exactly, and sometimes in a game like this, your best chance can just be, hey, just delay, wave clear, try to hang on. That's not easy to do, but if you can, and you can flip an Elder, win that out, well, all of a sudden, Ocean Soul doesn't really mean nearly as much, but GenG, again, just masterful in how they are controlling vision. They're just moving in, clearing out all these wards. They're making the approach so difficult for KT.
And that's kind of a flex from Dokdam, right? Like being up
Peter's going. Immediately they dive into Chovy. They have the Chain of Corruption coming out as well. It's going to land the Taunt, the Crescent Guard out as well from Canyon. Chovy falling lower. Perfect's on the flank, lands a double knockup. Chovy needs to get out, and he will. A public execution slays the cow. Roast beef for Keen as he finds two. Dogdam will follow. Canyon dives back in, flashes away, still has the Angel to bring him back to life. And now Keen can advance, and Cuz can do nothing but flash and a try to get himself out. Keen will chase for days though. Cuz forced down towards this blue side jungle. KT lose the fight. GenG, do you stick or do you twist? It looks like Baron is their target.
Yeah, Cuz still going to stay around, but it's going to be incredibly difficult for him to get in the area. He's hoping he can find a miracle to get into that pit. I mean, he has the sweeper. He knows he's not spotted, but he is now.
Ruler jumps immediately onto him. He knows his job here. They don't need the damage on the Baron, just force Cuz away. Can't quite hit the Mystic shot. Perfect here, the TP in for BDD. Another TP to follow it as KT think perhaps we can take the fight after the big purple worm. Peter's here to join the fray, but Baron already for GenG. KT now back away. The Realm Warp used. True shot barrage on Cuz. Almost takes him out. And now GenG with the Baron can push in. Another TP from KT. They try to find reinforcements to push this wave away.
And GenG, at first it looked dire. I like that from Peter. You have to go for these flippy plays, right? You're looking to lose the game. You need to go for the Hail Mary. And 99 times out of 100, that cow does not jump over the wall, but the teleporting cow this time finds his mark. But there are all these luxury items, right? The fact that Chovy stays alive for so long, and the fact that Canyon just gets to play with reckless abandon.
And I mean, look at how Keen is playing, right? You know, yes, the public execution does not hit onto Dogtown, but it doesn't matter. He hits Peter, and he just taxis him over there. Dogtown flashes out, but Keen is fair to follow, instantly knocks him down as well. Keen is just untouched. I mean, it's not like you can start a fight out going for the Ambessa. You have to deal with some of these other members, but that just gives Keen all the freedom in the world to just crush through these fights. He's going to have a beeline straight towards Dogtown. And Dogtown, it's never a 1v1 you can win in a million years.
10-0 on the pick. This Ambessa has been Keen's talisman throughout the year. Looking to make it 11-0 here in the semifinal to put GenG on the board in this series. They've had control of game one. Here they have more control over game two with the Ocean Salt. Still 2 minutes before the Elder and a minute and a half before this Baron expires. The bot lane inhib has respawned for KT.
Last time it was a hero play from BDD. The Q-free follow-up by the rest of his team that got KT out of what felt like at that point a position that generally GenG wouldn't lose from, as they are unrelenting, pushing on.
Ooh, Chain of Corruption comes out. Ruler with the Mercurial is going to cleanse away that slow. It was here that BDD managed to do it, but he doesn't have the same impetus to engage, doesn't have the same tools in his arsenal to get there. Inhib on the top side, taken by GenG. Now KT will put all 5 players to defending this mid lane wave that Chovy is going to begin to bring in. GenG, though, can still use the top side. Knock up onto Keen. He dashes away. The route onto Jura with the Rune Prison. Perfect falling lower. Forced away by Ruler. Will be able to heal up in that passive. True shot rush dodged by Cuz, but not by Peter. A public execution onto the backline. The knockback onto Keen immediately. The redemption coming out as well. Crescent Guard BDD trying to get onto Jura. Will find it. The taunt onto Cuz. Keen dashing in. Knocked back under the tower, but Ruler untouched. Canyon untouched. Chovy untouched. And GenG marching down mid for the win.
And you know Ruler is calling for that. Pentine comes right now. Already picked up his double. KT, though, they're going to try and hold on. TP's going to come in. Baron buff still for another 10 seconds.
Reset coming out from Chovy. He's finished a neat death cap. The Rabadons for that extra bit of damage. The Nexus Tower is falling. Ruler and Chovy take the first. Keen trying to get this wave in for the second. Perfect. Dogdam and Peter needs to try and defend, but Peter's already back in the base, just healing up on that fountain. The Nexus Tower falling lower. Ruler with a true shot for Rush can still arc and shift away from the oncoming Rek'Sai. The Nexus Tower will be taken. Keen behind them. KT trying to defend, but they just don't have the wallets. GenG will answer the fight and go 1-1 in the series.
GenG battling back here. KT kept the pressure on, but GenG are just too damn good. What a performance from Ruler in this one. Critical in their win. Start to finish felt like he was ahead. The team is creating space. Ruler and Keen, to me, were the real keys of this game.
They really were. Dask, what'd you think of that one?
I think we definitely agree. We agree. Ruler and Keen.
Everyone everyone setting up Ruler for success. That man played the sickest and also, I think, most leisurely Ezreal game of his life.
Yeah.
Some fights were clutch, but some fights no one could get to him. He just got to sit there shooting pot shots out, and every single one felt like it was landing.
I do feel like GenG are so good at executing these kind of compositions where you're like, okay, we're around one damage dealer. This time it's Ruler. Occasionally it's
Well,
been
Ambessa.
Ambessa is definitely a damage dealer.
also does a lot of damage, yeah.
He does. Hey, it didn't start off great for GenG. It actually started off phenomenal for KT. Okay, paint me a picture if you're a Kiana and you get into this game and you get like 3 kills.
You feel
early, Chovy.
amazing.
How do you feel and what happened?
That's why this series has been so fun to watch, because it has been close, because it has been a roller coaster, and this roller coaster started out with LCK Kiana actually getting 3 kills, and LCK Kiana does not usually win games. Well, didn't end up winning this one either, but he did get us hyped, though, with the chase down river. And look at how they split the fight. So the Realm Warp that BDD puts down, look at Doctum. He fakes like he's going into it, then he cancels it, walks back to BDD, and so everyone turns. Peter then did take it, came back, heads butts to be able to get the other extra kill here, and it's just the spacing that KT had in this fight around the Galio, around the engages from GenG was really nicely played.
It was nice. I feel like of all junglers, Cuz has a little LPL jungler style in him, you know? Like, he interacts with his lanes really well, like bringing out the Kianas in line with some of the other picks we've seen from him, the Viego, the Nocturne, you know? So I also just loved how they did play with space, like you pointed out, with Peter kind of baiting GenG into pressing forward.
But it wasn't going to last, Chovy, unfortunately for KT.
That's why it's a roller coaster.
Whoa! What happens next?
Next one we have is a really good GenG fight where they actually space out Peter himself, the Alistar. They work around these Alistar cooldowns. So let's take a look here, because the engage at the very beginning is one of the critical parts. Let's roll through this. You see them going on to the Alistar here, immediately backing up after he ults. Then they kind of draw out that plus the Kiana CC, so they know all the major CC from KT has been used. And look at how methodically GenG moved this fight forward. Ruler ends up flashing forward after the Alistar ultimate fell off. Then Duro hits an amazing hook here into the Chovy combo that sets up for Canyon to wrap around through the Rift Herald pit and come through and set up these 3 kills for Ruler. You were talking about Ruler, the caliber of this player. He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame basically already. And if you give him a bunch of money on Ezreal.
I'm with you. We've got to debate what skin and what year right at this point. But 100% the big thing for me there is look at Cuz in that fight. He has no space to play. In that long drawn out initial fight before everyone's level 6, he had room on this Kiana, but against the Galio, the Nautilus, it's so impossible. He's in melee range of Ruler, and he is helpless in that fight, which just shows how confident GenG are in the comp that they put together.
Yeah, and Cuz and BDD thinking, oh, he's done this to us before at Worlds in China. But yeah, Ruler goes absolutely huge, and he's, you know, of all the I don't want to say 2-pronged attack from GenG, it's like 5-pronged at this point, but he's such an important tip of the spear.
1,300 damage per minute.
Yeah, Ezreal's usually get around 1K sometimes. This is insane. And also I want to point out the damage percentage. Actually, both ADs, I think, were at about 40% across this entire game.
And if we look at this, what I was looking at for 2017 versus 2025, KT's looking to rewrite history.
Yeah, and I mean, we pointed out how it's GenG now who are kind of in that Longzhu spot, despite the fact that it was Longzhu coming out 6-0 in groups. But then lost to Samsung and Ruler in that quarterfinals. Now, Cuz and BDD looking for their revenge. They'll have to go back to the drawing board in the next game.
Yeah, and it's not the worst place to be in. It's a 1-1 because you did win that first game. I do think they still showed a lot of fight in the second one, and I feel like because of game 1, perhaps GenG is conditioned and KT is conditioned that they can turn around even deficits in this game, because they even did it in this game, Dracos, when they were behind.
Well, and I do like that they're confident to force those plays. Perfect had that final play where they made it work. They were too far behind in gold, but I like that despite some flubs, they start off really strong, that initial Alistar play. It gets pretty bad for Peter in a lot of these fights, but ultimately he still has the confidence to pull the trigger, and I think that is crucial for a team that has been going toe-to-toe with GenG, reminding of us of that upper bracket upset. They need to keep that momentum going forward.
And I have to say, coming into this series, myself and a lot of people were looking at the top lane matchup as maybe the most lopsided matchup. And with Keen having a good game here on a carry champion, I still think that this is probably one of the most dangerous things for KT is going to be the top lane individual matchup. Keen is just so good. He can fit into any team comp that you want to execute on, and he definitely can carry.
Yeah, I think some people might just look at the lane and then being like, yeah, but he didn't get like that far ahead or a million miles ahead in either games, but he's just really good at converting what he has into what the team needs, into the team fights.
Yeah, and in these team fights, you could tell he had such great backline access. The public executions were really, really good coming out of him. And then by contrast, it was so difficult for KT to get onto Ruler.
Yeah, and I am excited to see what BDD and Cuz can cook up. I'm excited to see the depth of their champion pools. But I'm very...
Why are you saying
sorry.
it twice?
Whatever. We have to keep going. Okay, take the boot. But what I will say is I am very concerned for Perfect because in the top lane, he plays Sion, he plays Rumble, he plays Renekton. Game 1, we lost 2 of those. The Rek'Sai didn't look good. I don't know where he goes.
I was giving him some grace, but it was rough. But hey, it's going to have to be near perfect if KT want to bring us to match point first, because right now, GenG strike back with their eye on the grand final.
As Ruler, Arcane shifts forward, he wants part of this fight. Canyon with the Crescent Guard, Chain of Corruption will lock him up, and it missed times as they go in. Ruler able to pick up one another hook coming out from Duro. The depth charge on the back line into the taunt from Chovy. GenG rule the rift as KT can find nothing.
GenG showcasing their incredible team fighting here.
Hey players, I know a lot of you have been asking about the winter map and why we haven't been able to do it, and I'll tell you, it's really difficult. Our tech and tools need some work. Hand painting everything in the map itself is a lot of effort, and not to mention there's gameplay clarity. And can we just talk about how even though it's winter in the northern hemisphere, in the southern hemisphere, it's summer. And isn't that where Medler's from? He's from New Zealand, right? So I don't know if we're gonna be able to pull it off. But you know what? Because you really asked for it, we're just gonna do it anyways. Winter map is coming back, everyone. Winter 2025 and summer 2025 somewhere else. It's winter everywhere on Summoner's Rift.
When I was a player, if I was to make a misplay, maybe it's my mouse, maybe it's my armrest, something feels wrong. If you were at home, you wouldn't do that.
The Infinite Precision Armrest is part of the larger Secret Lab on Stage standard initiative, aimed to bring your home or training room settings to the tournament stage.
이제 저뿐만 아니라 다른 선수들도 세팅을 더 원활하게 할 것 같고
가장 편안할 때 더 강력한 플레이가 자연스럽게 나옵니다.
Red Bull gives you wings.
in a wild world, lost in its vines. Make a sound, it comes to life.
Welcome back to Worlds 2025. We're in our first semi-final. We are currently 1 apiece between GenG and KT. Both games have been roller coasters so far. The first one going in KT's favor, the second in GenG's after they picked up that Ocean Soul and were able to roll KT off the map. The question is, as we get towards the latter parts of Fearless, whether we'll start to see a few more spicy picks. Canyon obviously known for his Nidalee when we get towards the game 4s. Currently sitting in game 3.
And to me, the biggest question on the side of KT is how do you deal with Keen, right? Because I think Keen has been very problematic in both games. Even in this Sion game, Perfect got pretty far behind in the laning phase. Yes, they did win that game, but Keen was really playing well in the team fights. And then you put him on the Ambessa, and I feel like he just crushed through a lot of those fights. Now he's going to be on red side, so I really am curious how KT want to try to set up Perfect and how they're going to try to deal with Keen, because he's been a tough ass.
And I think that is really hard to do, because to me, what Perfect is doing today is really the best of what we could expect from him, right?
Yeah.
I think that he is doing his very best at not giving Keen any advantages, not ended up going down in side lane, which is something that he really struggled with throughout the year. The reality is just that finishing and successfully completing the Keen test is a nightmare for any top laner. It's why Keen has been held in such high regard for so long, despite the teams that he's been on. And Keen has been looking the same, I think, as we saw him really throughout most of this year. I think save for Ruler, but for Chovy, he needs to step up big time in this next game. Canyon, I think, is still kind of akin, some good moments, some not so good. But even with BDD's rise in form domestically, Chovy has always been able to match him. That head-to-head is very firmly in favor of Chovy for a reason as well. But we're not seeing that thus far, and he has talked so much about the pressures. Thus far, it feels like he is buckling underneath them.
At least a little bit. We'll see how it ends up being across the course of 5 games in the series, but KT have definitely shown more soul today than people expected from them. Shown more perseverance, more resilience than people expected from them. Because we all talk about KT when they made Worlds beating GenG 3-2, and we rarely talk about the fact a week later they met and they lost 0-3. GenG just wiped them away. Here we are in draft for game 3. Aurora, Kai'Sa and Trundle banned away by KT. Wukong and Janara, the bans. Azir, the one that rises in priority for this final ban from GenG.
Yeah, no ban on Azir or Orianna yet. So at least one of them is going to go through. And I think if one of them is going to go through on red side, you're not going to ban the other because you want to go for a trade. So that is going to be the option here.
That's BDD Azir. That's there's a couple of mid laners in the LCK that don't get to play this champion, and this is one of them for very, very good reason. Was there when I was moaning about Renekton and Azir, was a big reason for why they kept doing that. BDD gets his pigeon and will be feeling great here. Chovy gonna be trying to play for lane, I do imagine, with the Orianna, but with how his laning has been thus far, that's going to be a tall ask, because BDD has been able to make so many highlight moments. And again, it feels like every LCK mid does this on the regular, but even amongst those, he often stands out.
Pantheon Orianna seems like a pretty powerful 1-2 there. Can definitely put a lot of pressure on. It does feel like, though, you know, you want to see Canyon trying to get aggressive to maintain that pressure that he's been able to put on. Had a really creative gank in last game, early on that Xin Zhao, came from an angle that BDD didn't expect, was able to really help out in that mid lane matchup. And you know, when you talk about BDD on Azir, this is absolute comfort. You want to put pressure on him. You don't want to allow BDD to play his game comfortably. Poppy, I think, is a great pick here. It's a good answer into the Pantheon, and it also combos well with the Azir because you can swoop them back into the Poppy stun. You can set up really effectively with that. And Cassante is a great takeaway from Keen. It's something that should be harder to punish for Keen as well. So the first 3 feel super solid for KT.
The Bird plus Poppy combination is one we've seen work a few times so far at this Worlds. Azir and Nivea, both combined with the Poppy to slam people into those wolves. The Kasante from Perfect, just looking to survive the top lane, really. He's been doing a really good job of it. The Sivir now locked in for Ruler. There's scaling on both sides already. Like these are team fight comps just from the first 3 picks.
Yeah, I do like the Sivir into the Zero specifically, being able to spell shield a lot of the threat. Then the Poppy is also still a flex, which I do appreciate. Could go towards Cuz, could go towards Peter. If you put it towards Cuz, you're really playing more towards those early game dives. And as we already highlighted, playing towards that Azir. If it goes to Peter, Cuz still gets the opportunity to pick one of his trademark picks, go towards something like the Sejuani that he has been known for a very long time. As some of the things we've seen, the Zeri ban actually coming through, even though the pick has not been at the forefront of Worlds thus far.
No, it hasn't at all, but sometimes as you get deeper into Fearless, people are just looking for hyper carry plus Enchanter. You know, maybe that's something that they were a little bit concerned about. I always do have worries about Sivir into Azir simply because it does scale really well, but you're so heavily outranged that it can be difficult in these fights to actually step up and be able to play them effectively. Blitz as a ban is really interesting. Like, it is a Duro special, and it's one of those things where I'm just wondering, is that telling us that you are going to go for more of a lane dominant support? Are you going to be playing something more along the lines of like a Karma or something, an Enchanter, that you're more concerned about those matchups? Yes, you can use it into melee matchups as well, and it is a Duro special, but that's kind of where my mind goes.
And that makes sense to me. Duro has been really out of nowhere, seemingly the guy that has been able to be actually one of the rocks for GenG. In a large part of summer when Kenya was underperforming, it was Duro that picked up the slack. So the double bans going towards him, I do think, are completely warranted, even though there is still technically the potential for a flex. And we have talked a lot. Keen's champion pool is deep. This man has been playing League of Legends for a very long time, and he knows Kasante like no one else.
This would be hype. I mean, GP has been falling out of the meta. This, I believe, more maybe moving in towards like an Aatrox or something along those lines. That seems like it makes a lot more sense. GP would have been really, really hype.
Even he was disappointed. He's like, guys, don't trust me. I can do it.
I just want to be a pirate for my world skin, guys, for the world skin.
Fun.
Halloween was yesterday. Let him dress up.
That is true. That is true. Instead, the Aatrox will be locked in for GenG, something we do commonly see into things like the Sion, things like the Kasante. Really scales up well as well, especially when you're playing these like front-to-back team fights. You can get a lot of autos
Lulu
down
Jinx
with the Sundered Sky. It does work well. Lulu Jinx would make sense for KT. You've got a front line, you have a Poppy, you have a Kasante, you've got the Azir. Ashe as well can do a huge amount of work. We saw Guma on it yesterday having a stellar performance, and there's the Lulu alongside it.
Yeah, so it is that Lulu. You know, I was thinking Enchanter once I saw that Blitzcrank ban. I actually think I like this more than the Lulu Jinx, to be honest, because I was going to say they are kind of light on engage, right? And so this does give you a bit more of a primary go button. And when we look over what they have so far, there's no one that really wants to tank that arrow, right? Like anyone who gets hit, it could be pretty dangerous for them. So Leona does make a lot of sense, you know, does help them as far as the primary engage. If you bring Pantheon down towards that bot side, you can look to try to prey on the Ashe as well as the Lulu, who can be quite vulnerable. That is kind of the push and pull that you are having here. But a lot of scaling over on the KT side, really strong front to back. They have some great denial for the engaged tools with both the Poppy as well as the rejection of the Azir with Polymorph and Wild Growth and all of these tools. So honestly, I kind of tend to favor the KT draft.
KT, I think, have an extremely well-rounded draft. It does, for me, stand or fall by how well the bot lane can do, because I think both mid and top are going to be very heavily shoved in, are really going to be having a tough time in the early game. So there is, what can Cuz do? Can he set up either for Perfect or towards BDD? And then on the flip side, what can Canyon do? Because with two winning lanes in the top side of the map, and Ruler and Duro, I think, going to struggle in this matchup, what are his decisions going to be like?
Yeah, I mean, it's just always so hard, right? Because you can try to look at the draft in isolation, and then you read the nameplates, and you're like, oh, maybe the GenG draft does win, right? You know, they're just kind of that team that can execute on anything. But it is going to be an exciting one. I really like the risks I think that KT are taking. I think they took a couple good ones. And BDD Azir is something that you can count on and have been able to count on for so many years.
A single best of 3 between these two LCK teams, and the finals between that spot in the heavens that they talked about earlier today. For Chovy, a final chance to show that on the international stage he can perform just as well as he can domestically. For KT, the chance to keep the Cinderella story going. Have they found the perfect slipper? or will they be turning into pumpkins? 3 games between them, and what could be a glory in the League of Legends space. For now, both teams just normal line of scrimmages. You can see Docdam and Peter did start up towards that top side. I wonder if we'll see a swap. Cassante would survive that a lot better than the Aatrox, but Aatrox can still farm from range with his Qs, so it looks like we're just going to have a traditional top lane v top lane, bot lane v bot lane.
Nothing too crazy yet. Not looking anything too unorthodox in rune setups either. Do see with that lethal tempo, just the power of Ash in general, as well as Peter with the Airy would obviously expect this early laning phase to be heavily in favor of Docdam and Peter. We already also highlighted the power of that Ash arrow, because I think the pick on KT is actually great. You know, if you can get a stun into the wall, but once you get to the later team fights, that opportunity just isn't always going to be there. So having the arrow and no cleanses either, right? And as you already highlighted, not a lot of members that will be happy to tank this.
And I mean, also look at all the priority they put for this level 1. Double wards in the side brushes here, so that Duro cannot sit in a side brush whatsoever. So KT, did put the emphasis on getting this vision down here. And look at the poke. I just don't think that Duro expected both of those side brushes to be warded out.
This also weakens Duro's level 2, because he has to take the Eclipse at level 1, which means he doesn't have the Zenith Blade Shield of Daybreak stun combo. So he's now waiting for level 3 before he can really have an impact when he goes in.
Yeah, when your health is low, you can't really look for the all-in, because it can turn so bad for you. So you always have to think about how the exit from the trade is going to be against Lulu and Ashe, because if you go in there, you get a great initial trade, but then all of a sudden you're polymorphed, you're slowed up, it's very difficult, and you can take so much damage on the way out. So tough start down in that 2v2. You talked about how it was going to be critical for them to have success in that 2v2 Chronicler, and level 1 definitely going their way.
It's not just that, it's that on the enemy team is what I think is probably the best diver that we got. Sivir might be a bit of a struggle if Rula can keep hold of his summoners, but with just Barrier, we'll have to see if he can survive. There is definitely an opportunity for Cuz if they take more damage, but we have seen Ruler and Duro basically just stay underneath the turret, and I think just try and not get traded at all, just so that they aren't really dive targets. Canyon obviously is also towards the bottom half of the map. We do see the coverage in the Tri-Brush ward there as well, so that Docdam and Peter feel safe, just continuously looking for this shove, which will be maintained for now.
Canyon actually also using a really interesting ward around his own blue buff. There's the threat when KT have this push on the bot side for them to invade with Cuz around the level 3. Cuz skips his red and you invade towards the blue. You can see Peter's going to start doing it now. And there was a ward from Canyon at his blue buff just to make sure if he had to back away, they still have a little bit of vision around there. KT will invade. There's nothing left for them to take. Canyon's already on his way up towards the top side. Scuttle Crab, so it will just be an exchange of the crustaceans between these two junglers.
And I want to highlight something. Chovy TPing first, actually getting the worst trades as Orianna into Azir is not something that we've seen of this player, and it's again a reminder that BDD going to be up early now. I think Chovy will be able to mostly equalize. Did pull the wave there. So, but the fact that Chovy isn't ahead is something that, again, it's when we talk about the expectations for this player, we do need to highlight, particularly with Orianna, who in the early levels we've seen be extremely impressive in this matchup.
And I just feel like Chovy, his whole career, he's been synonymous with lane dominance, right? Chovying, people can refer to as just getting all of the CS, never missing anything. He has interviews where it's just so funny. It's like, well, how do you have these incredible CS numbers? Like, well, just don't miss the minions.
Yeah, just order them.
It's simple.
Obviously.
Exactly. But yeah, it is a bit of a surprise to see BDD being able to put that pressure on him.
And I think importantly, the surprise is not that BDD is playing well. We expect BDD to play well. He's probably one of the top 2-3 mid laners so far at this World Championship and has been consistently top of the tables through his entire career. The Zenith Blade hits, but BDD should just be able to walk away from this one. Duro will be able to back out as well. Glitter Lance doesn't connect. BDD just constantly slapping him with a few of those early Azir auto attacks.
Yeah, I don't believe in curses, but that you were trying to serve me some evidence there, Medic.
No, I just kept going.
Yeah,
there's no curses.
He's okay.
It's LCK. You don't believe in curses? There are no curses.
Well, I don't. I have had many a disagreement with my colleagues on that one.
Oh, okay. So if KT win the series, Atlas will go bald. We agree?
No. That's only very specific. I also feel like I can't do that. You know, he has to do that himself.
Can't promise it for him?
No.
No, you can. He
Even
can't
as
do
a
anything about it.
I could do that, but like that wouldn't.
Because you're fleeing to the Netherlands afterwards.
No, but that won't feel fair, you know? I don't want to bully Atlas. That's not nice.
He always bullies you.
Well, yeah, but that's his love language. It's fine. I'm not bothered.
That is true. Early doors, not too much happening in this game, which is why we went into
LCK
mode for a second. Keen is getting the push here on the top side. Will be able to get himself a plate, winning out on that 1v1 matchup, as expected for the Aatrox in the early game.
Yep, going to be able to have the push there. I mean, Keen doing very well. Canyon is here, and Dogdom might be getting faded a bit.
Just a little bit. Just chasing down Duro and Ruler there, but they don't go too far. Cuz coming in from the side will spot Canyon with his Oracle's alteration, clear out the ward, and Canyon wisely backs away.
Not seeing any action too early, too crazy here, thanks to that play from Duro and mid. Chovy is able to maintain parity on the CS. Canyon is about to hit level 6. Both of these junglers, I think, building towards that Sundered Sky, trying to hit that as soon as possible. Canyon obviously going to be looking for side lane plays, and his targets are kind of so-so outside of bot lane because Azir obviously has so much mobility. He still has his flash available. Top is Cassante. Feel like I don't really have to elaborate on that one. And KT going to be using this bot lane prior to start the first rig, and getting early dragons has been really big deal in this series.
It's been huge, right? You know, that march towards Soul, putting pressure on your opponents. Not only do they have the bot lane prio, BDD had first push in mid lane, cheated down towards, so even if there was going to be a look, which we kind of know there isn't, they would have been ready to stop any sort of GenG pressure. And now Perfect knows he is the one on weak side. He's got to be careful because really the only thing that Canyon could potentially be doing is looking towards that top lane if he overextended.
Early objective stacking has been 100% predictor of who will win the game so far in this series. If you take the first 2 Drakes, you win. Obviously a little bit of an up and down on the way to getting there, but we will see if KT are able to continue that record going by taking the next one.
See, now we're back in LCK territory, which is taking stats and really honing in on them so that they don't really make that much anymore, but that's what we like.
Yeah.
Can
Herald only has,
like.
Herald has a 50% win rate.
Get in the way of a good story.
It's true.
You know?
I knew you would.
I'm with you. I'm with you, buddy.
Canyon is there, but this is Cassante. Maybe could get like a flash or something. Could be setting up for the grubs that are spawning now.
Perfect will be a little bit annoyed with how this wave is set up. It's a 4v1 as Canyon and Keen now walk down towards the grubs. Cuz is on his way across, as is Peter. The Enchanted Crystal Arrow available to Docdam.
Yep, Docdam has that, and they have first move here, so KT definitely want to contest.
Keen in the back of the pit, and just dash across. Volley from Docdam, Grub's begun, KT with 5, Chovy's on his way across. Duro stepping forward, flash shield of David finds the Sun, Grand Starfall coming out as well. Keeper's verdict from Cuz, the shockwave, Peter flashes it, Ruler caught out on the backline, pushed away with the Emperor's Divider now. KT can begin to advance. Keen trying to come in and reinforce his team. Duro shielded just in time, now Perfect stepping forward, has to flash away himself. And in the end, no one dies.
Duro just playing that so aggressively, getting right in on the BDD, pushing him out of the fight. I thought that KT was going to be able to chase down and get some exit kills, but Duro barely survives with the command protect there from Chovy. Really close fight, but it's the grubs now. The second one going to be going the way of GenG.
And it's Keen being knocked away there by Cuz that I think ended up making that a very even fight. But if Keen actually was there, because I think he either ulted for the movement speed or ulted as he got knocked away, and that Aatrox was in the midst of it, one reset, and this fight would just be a complete blowout. So grubs, 2 of them will go, but that's still a trade that I think KT is happy with. They're able to get themselves one of the grubs, deny free, and they were the ones who got the early dragon. They did have to pay very heavily, though, when it comes to summoners.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to highlight, is you still have these 3 flashes. The top side from GenG all have theirs available. There's only Cuz with his flash on the KT side. So a lot of vulnerable champions, and we talked about how hard it can be for Ashe, for Lulu, for champions like this if you are getting jumped on. So we'll see if GenG can find windows to punish those missing summoners.
Keen's going to be able to pick up another plate for himself on this top side. About 300 gold ahead now on the Aatrox. Chovy with a 200 gold lead in mid. The bot lane, the advantage for KT. They've constantly had the push into Ruler and Duro, who have survived it well. As far as I can see, yet to lose a plate down here. Obviously, that's been partly because Canyon has spent a little bit of time around his bot side to make sure that Docdam and Peter were always on their tippy toes.
Yeah, Docdam able to get a kill as well, so that means that the gold lead is naturally just going to get even bigger for him. And Ashe is one of those picks that I think just feels great throughout all of the game. You have good early game. As long as you don't fall behind, you do a good amount of damage. And with a Lulu, you get a lot of power.
Emperor's Divide onto Chovy, not under the tower too much. Only takes 1 shot. Just walks his way away.
Nice bit of pressure put on there, though, by BDD, and now Cuz down on this bot side, so they're just going to play super aggressive.
See the damage onto Duro as the Eclipse comes off. He loses that extra armor and magic resistant. Falls down to about 2/3 HP. KT now setting up towards mid. Arrow. Eclipse. Chovy not quite. And it doesn't find anyone towards that top side either.
And Chovy could have had to expand his flash, not going to be the case. Instead, just going to walk it off for now. That doesn't mean the arrow is down. I think we'll be close to up once we actually get to the Dragon. Dragon spawns in about a minute, and that's going to be a big breakpoint. If KT can get to 2 again, it does make so much of the follow macro easier. You can give up a Dragon, get a Herald, start opening up mid lane. And I think Orianna in particular is really reliant on that mid lane turret remaining standing, because the moment that is gone, Azir can just make your life a living hell.
Yeah, it can be extremely difficult. And you could see Keen, even though Perfect had the push again there, Keen just held the 4 ranged minions. And so Perfect is trying to push up to get this reset, knowing that, again, you can be vulnerable. Obviously, Cassante, very hard to take down. But if you are pushed up too far in that lane, there is the ability for Keen and Canyon to run you down, to take you down. And you highlighted it. It had been an issue for Perfect in the LCK, getting picked off in these side lanes, but to his credit, it has not happened at all in this series.
I'd argue not even at Worlds. I think he's actually had a really big step up, and we've had moments from that, of that from Perfect, but he hasn't been able to string it together consistently. It's cool to see the faith for KT being rewarded. Also, I do want to shout out, because we were giving Chovy some criticism early on, and his early laning phase didn't look too good. Now starting to build towards that Chovy lead we all know and love.
Empress Vine, he tries to bash away from it, he slammed into the wall! Chovy, take a pew! Your church is closed! KT find the kill on the enemy mid, and will turn their eyes towards the Drake.
And that is twice in 3 games. Uncharacteristic bad flashes from Chovy, where he's getting caught, he's getting taken down. Same thing happened in game 1, and now they're going to force the Dragon.
And KT are just going to get it. GenG looking to catch someone as they walk out. And Charlie Crystal Arrow coming out once again, looking for Duro. Dockdam on the chase. Peter there with a Glitter on slow. Flash away from Duro means he's not slammed against that wall. KT will accept just that summoner as their price for the chase.
Still a really big win here for KT, as Canyon still waiting. Oh, KT, I think that they based.
Jump onto Peter, they look for the engage, then it's played forward, but the wild growth flash from Peter's enough to keep him alive. Use the heal as well. Dockdam tries to turn it back around, but doesn't have any vision in that bush to chase the Canyon any further.
Yeah, Ruler isn't that strong, didn't have a lot of mana, and doesn't have a first item yet, but Chovy, I haven't finished my sentence yet, or he just gets swept. Doesn't get the flash, immediately gets slammed into the wall. And again, that's with BDD not having his flash.
Oh my god, he got solo killed.
Grand Starfall in from Canyon as he looks for the chase onto BDD, but BDD still has the flash, and he'll jump over the wall. They call him BDD for a reason, as he outplays Canyon and Chovy.
That is massive for the game. 2-0 for BDD. You get out the flash here. And now I think we're just going to see this solo kill one more time. He doesn't even have his ult, so Chovy must have just overcommitted to this, and I'm assuming BDD just slides in, and you're just going to get auto to death. I mean, he procced the phase rush. The phase rush expires. You cannot stand around like that. You need to be able to exit the fight. BDD is looking to take this one over.
Great use of the soldiers there as well, getting all 4 of them to slide into Chovy, who is now relegated to a side lane. A couple of years ago, this is where he lived when his team was behind. Here, still yet to finish a first item.
He absolutely is, and Chovy, we have to talk about his history at Worlds, because there's been a number of times over the years where you thought, surely this is the year that they're going to be able to win. Has yet to make it to a final. BDD final again!
Chovy! BDD takes a couple of towers, or it takes 3! BDD just dies! Cuz will get 1 in response, but the shutdown gold over to Chovy.
And Chovy getting that shutdown, absolutely pivotal. It felt like if that doesn't come through, he's just straight up out of the game. But now we see the gold, at least mostly equalized. Canyon doesn't have his ult, and KT has started this up. TP comes in.
Now looking for the fight here around the Herald. Counter TP being used as Perfect's going to join the fight. Keen in the back of the pit. Perfect's there, trying to act as that front line. Looking for the eye. The solar flare, Dockdam immediately cleanses away from it. Canyon dives in, a great step up person stops Duro from coming in. The TP first is going to be BDG joining the fight. Keen forced up towards the top side. Perfect's going to 1v1 him with the all out, and now the charge forward from KT. They find 3 as GenG are left reeling.
GenG are wiped from the map. KT just outplay them. They get the Herald. They're going to keep pushing here as well. Look at Perfect trying to threaten the wraparound if GenG's carries overstay.
And it's an elementary mistake from GenG. It was just a teleport disadvantage. Chovy doesn't have TP, BDD does. And so, with an extra member, as BDD looking for mid, looking for bot, gets the charge, and KT builds a gigantic lead in this game number 3.
That is huge. Just look at where the gold is too. It's all on the carries. We can watch this one more time. Duro was missing his flash from that bot lane play. And when he tries to go for the engage here, Cuz is just ready to immediately reject it. Instant cleanse there from Docdom, and then there's the rejection. Duro has no choice but to just run, but Docdom is crushing them, and the TP from Azir is coming in, so they can't even turn to stay.
You talked about it, Azel. You don't get away from Ashe and Lulu when you're on the back foot. You need to be stepping forward into them. A great fight for KT now. The game truly in their hands. 4,000 gold ahead at 17 minutes. 3.5, 2 Drakes, a Grub. This is the largest gold lead we have seen this early in one of these games.
And KT, there are a lot of comps where you look at Camtech and you go, I don't know. This is a really good one, gang. There is Cassante, there is Poppy, and there is a Lulu, and those 3 alone are going to get you so much value. Poppy is already harder to kill thanks to her passive when she gets low. We have Perfect, who obviously is in that fight, by the way, which we didn't even really get to talk about. Just straight up 1v1 Keen.
Chant Crystal going down. There's Keeper's Verdict as well. Ruler doesn't get the chance to move. Duro has the flash, takes the Chemtech Blast Cone to get himself to safety, but KT will take the blue. They'll steal the jungle. GenG on the ropes, reeling. It feels like one more punch will be the knockout blow.
It really is feeling that way. And Cuz and BDD, I'm remiss to say it, but it's starting to feel like that upset series where they are just playing out of their minds in this one. It took incredible performances from Cuz and BDD. It took some uncharacteristic mistakes from Chovy as well. And I really am starting to feel the possibilities ramping up more and more for KT here. They're fully in control. 4K lead, sole point. This will put them to match point against GenG.
And it's Chovy making so many mistakes. It's Docdom.
Grand Starfall onto Docdom. Does have the flash. He's going to use it to get across the red pit. Can't do it in time. Solar Flare from Duro finds its mark. Chovy gets the shutdown and closes that gold gap.
And this is where the resilience of GenG really will get tested. Their composition, there are elements of scaling that work well. Aatrox, once you get towards those 2 free items, the Orianna, the Sivir, but for me, it's much more about how they look, the hesitancy in teamfight. You can see the doubt creep into their play in real time, and this is coming from a team that within the LCK, within MSI, within the entire year, has played with the utmost confidence.
They absolutely have, and I mean, that's the first KP that Canyon has this game, right? You're 19 minutes in on the Pantheon. He hasn't been able to find any successful place until that moment, and Docdom decides to hold on to the flash, which I think was the right call, right? You know, because there's no objective for them to grab after that. You want to be ready to go if there's a big Otacon fight. You want to be ready to go for this potential soul fight here in 3 minutes and 45 seconds. And KT has got to stay laser focused, eyes on the prize. It's all about objectives in this game.
The one thing KT needs to avoid at all costs is either Docdom or BDD getting caught, but this is where I think the composition really does favor them, because look at the tools they have to keep their 2 carries alive. There is Cuz with his ultimate and his W. There is Perfect with the Cassante, and then there is a Lulu to add on top of that. So actually taking down Docdom, who by the way has Flash and Cleanse, or BDD, who by the way still has his Flash, or really any of the members that isn't Peter if he massively oversteps, just seems nigh impossible, and in 3 minutes, GenG is going to force to fight that. And KT, all I want to say is respect Otacon, please.
You absolutely have, and we already talked about the power, the chase down power that KT's comp has. Well, Rylai's is done now for the Azir as well, so there's so many slows, there's so many tools to chase you down and punish you if you misstep at all on the GenG side. KT know this is a game that is going to be about objectives. They're sweeping out this vision. They do kill it fast, but do not flip from this position. You can just play from Soul. There's no need, in my mind, to be able to just force an Otacon.
Canyon looking for the flank here. BDD's going to push the wave in. Does still have that Empress Divide in the flash. And puts the ward in. Canyon backs away. BDD slides forward, uses the Emperor's Divide. The Aegis Assault didn't even need to block it. Just a little bit quick there from BDD. Thought perhaps, oh, we can pick the enemy jungle and then start the Otacon. KT playing out the vision once again. I was going to say, the KT don't fight before you're actually stronger as well. There's 2 items on Chovy and 2 on BDD. Although you have a gold lead in the jungle, it's still an item apiece. Your gold lead hasn't actuated into actual items yet. It hasn't become that strong, so you can just wait it out. You're already 4K ahead. Just take it slow.
Well, they are not going to do that. They are pulling it for now. And we'll see. It looks like they are going to let this one reset. But that was a really risky moment here because Canyon, when he gets spotted out, I mean, if you get connected there, you probably at the very least lose your flash. But had he gone down, then the Otacon is a very real possibility.
In the last game, it was Cuz that had a big mistake, was the one that kind of inadvertently set up Ruler in a position to carry, right? Gave over the early shutdown, not this time!
Yeah, to Chovy, perfect here! Pathmaker will find Chovy, and he doesn't get a chance to move! KT once again, kill off the enemy mid!
What a beautiful CC chain! That was flawless! The Ash Arrow, then the Flash Pathmaker, then Cuz comes in from the side, stuns him against the wall. Now you force the Otacon for sure!
You have to flash that. There's just no excuse. Chovy thought he could walk it up with the movement speed. Not the case. That's just Otacon gonna be gone.
That makes kind of sense.
And GenG are looking at yet another semi-final of despair.
Battered and bruised. They'll have one more game to try and get themselves back off the mat, but for now, KT take total control of Game 3. Keen will get a tower down towards that bottom side, 22.5 minutes in. BDD will get KT's 3rd of the game. The Petals relatively close, even though KT picked up the Otacon, but they have feats. They have more than 1,000 gold lead in 3 of their lanes. And they have GenG on the ropes.
And they have still every summoner except for Perfect Splash. That's all they expended. So it wasn't like they fully oversent it. They're ready to go for this fight. This soul fight, you have to stop them right here as GenG, or I think this game is just wraps.
We'll have to see. GenG, there are a couple of strong members, Keen and Chovy, but it does really just feel like KT is running the rift.
Perfect with the phase check, the slam into the wall. The arrow follows up, and once again it hits Chovy somehow. GenG on the retreat, KT will back away, don't have to go any further. They still have the Keeper's Verdict, the Emperor's Divide. They use the Redemption to top up Perfect. They turn their eyes towards the Drake Soul for them. Canyon a long way away, has that Grand Starfall. Keen gonna try and flank across here. Could use the World Ender. Starfall in from Canyon, looks for the steal, but immediately he's yeeted. The Keeper's Verdict finds him guilty, and Emperor's Divide knocks the World Ender into the middle. The Shockwave finds KT, but Duro dives in, and the rest of GenG just can't follow him. KT claim the soul, they claim the kills, and they claim GenG's lives.
KT is just running through the fight. Chovy's in trouble. BDD's going.
BDD can still chase him in. He's the only one left alive. Chovy stands alone as KT clean up the fight.
And that is a 5-for-1. Soul for KT. The shockwave doesn't matter. Chovy unable to find anything. Canyon immediately yeeted out of the pit. And that is KT about to go up to match point against GenG.
Cuz the timing was perfect. Canyon ults in, immediately knocked out. And then BDD on the side catching Keen, knocking him into the stun of Cuz. They're looking like Shaq and Kobe out there. BDD and Cuz are just on it right now. They're playing with no reservations, with no fear, and it is a beautiful thing to see on the world's largest stage. Look at the timing. He's not even there for a moment, then BDD says that is not enough. We will take even more. Ends the world of Keen and just keeps the pressure going.
And there's not enough damage. Ruler doesn't even have a second item. Chovy Shockwave is only set up for a play that never comes. And GenG are staring down a roller coaster of all the teams. All these years of this organization, so many have tried and so many have failed. And is it really going to be this roster that does it with Peter that has been subbed out earlier this year? But we're going back to his Nongshim days where he has been in a position before where they weren't the favorites, where they were able to get crazy wins. A Perfect that has been so often criticized. Yeah, I mean, Cousin BDD, we've known you were good. You've been good for a very long time. I really don't have a cool redemption story for you, although that Longju final or semi has got to be on their mind.
Now KT setting up around the Baron, just trying to deny vision away from GenG. No inhibitor towers did fall after that Chem Tech Soul fight. But KT, they're 9,000 gold ahead. 3 items on BDD, the Leandry's complete. For Dokdam, he has a Peter in his pocket to help buff up those autos. Duro and Canyon and Chovy still looking for the flanks. BDD might face check into it. Enchanted Crystal coming out, but BDD uses the soldiers to check for him. His bodyguards as he forces Chovy away. Canyon falls. Duro likely to follow suit soon. Chovy teleports out and dies anyway.
He gets taken down. It's another kill, and it's going to be the Baron here for KT. BDD will not get caught sleeping. Sniffs out the attempted play from GenG, goes straight at him, and comes out on top.
It's a victory lap for the roller coaster. Get in now, you get an extra ride for free. SKT take their Baron. GenG, the desperation evident. Duro gets found. BDD, you can't fool him like that. And coming into this game, we were wondering, should you really give BDD a 0? And the answer is one of the most resounding no's that we could possibly give.
Kills Chovy, insult to injury as he's TPing out. It's Baron, it's Soul, it's 11,000 gold, it's Otacon. And it is KT getting closer and closer to putting GenG on notice, to putting themselves 1 game away from the World Finals, a tournament they weren't even supposed to qualify for.
It's just the Cinderella story for KT, the rebellion of the underdog. I think a lot of people looked at this series and said the only way KT even have a chance is for GenG to drastically underperform, but today it has been KT stepping up time after time. GenG trying to defend a top lane inhib. Dokdang steps forward, puts the damage down into it. 2 minutes left on this Baron buff as KT take the inhib tower. In the mid lane, Perfect will shepherd in the next wave. The inhibitor falls for KT, and now they move across towards mid.
KT trying to put the finishing touches here. GenG has to decide when will they make their final stand. It's still 1.5 minutes left on this Baron. It's not as though it's about to expire. They've already lost 2 inhibs here. They don't have that bot wave moving for them, but they just want to play through 2 waves. Have these 2 waves synced up and start to really put pressure on the Nexus towers.
Chovy and GenG trying to defend. The solar player BDD slides away from it. You can't catch me. Starfall in, but Canyon's locked up. The keeper's verdict knocks back 1. Cuz goes in for the chase, but can't quite find the damage on the Canyon. But here comes Dokdam for the rest of it. Keen with the whole world on his shoulders as he pops the world ender. But he's stunned up, locked up, and taken out by KT. Another name on the list for KT. They take their destiny into their own hands as they go 1 game away from finals.
And a sly grin on Dokdam's face as he is 1 game away from making the World Finals.
Analysts, let us know what you got.
What do we got? I mean, Dokdam said, I'm going to avenge Peanut's tears. Will it actually happen? I don't know, but this, my gents and ladies, was a stomp.
It honestly was, and we should just re-roll this B-roll. How many fights did they win? They killed Chovy infinite number of times.
Laura, welcome to the desk.
Thank you for having me.
Oh my God.
I cannot believe what is going on here. When I think about what this team was doing at the beginning of LCK Cup, they make it to the playoffs, get swiped by Nongshim. To see that this team is here today on the verge of getting their first ever finals, guys. I'm not gonna say it. She's not gonna say what I feel right now.
We're gonna say a couple of things. Let's talk about BDD versus Chovy and the fact that Chovy does not seem like himself.
I mean, let's roll some clips because a picture says 1,000 words, and Chovy almost died 1,000 times.
He did. Every second counts, and thanks to that reliable Cisco network that BDD is using, he just slams him down again and again.
So we were hyping up the Azir into Poppy combination during Champ Select.
So good.
And they pulled it off perfectly on him and got his flash.
Yeah, this is exactly how you want to execute that, the flash on top of it. And then this is just BDD absolutely taking control of the matchup. This is exactly why you do not give BDD Azir. I mean, you also don't want to give it to Chovy, but like, it was just such a great execution of the Poppy Azir together in so many of these fights.
We literally went from replay of them killing Chovy to live of them killing Chovy to replay of them killing Chovy to again, Lord, they must have picked him off in the side lane. They picked him off everywhere. And it seems like they were just dominating.
For me, I'm really concerned when I see Chovy like this because I saw him in the Makeup Room. I saw him backstage before this series, and we're used to seeing him more joyful. At MSI, it was not the same attitude. We knew what it means to him. He stopped his run here last year as well. You can feel the stress. We knew that the pressure was on GenG coming here today. He's feeling it right now.
Absolutely, and we know because we wear headset as well, it doesn't keep everything out. The KT chants after the fight we're going to show you next were unbelievable, and you know it's seeping through and it's seeping into your mental.
I gotta say, Shocks, roller coasters look pretty fun.
Yes.
They look very fun, especially at Worlds. So this was a fight that was very quickly after a lot of these kills where they were attacking the Orianna. But I actually want to highlight Doctum here because there's been so much about BDD and about Cuz. But Doctum did so well kiting and so many Ashe arrows in this game that he deserves a lot of credit.
Yeah, Ashe is such a signature pick for him. It was one of the picks on when he was on FPX immediately previously that he did super well on. The way that they set up layering CC, I actually think Doctum's been having a phenomenal series, even in their loss.
Yeah.
I thought he performed super well. And to see him on this comfort pick of the Ashe and how they were executing it with the Cuz Poppy, right? With the Azir shuffles. It was just amazing.
I mean, it's just actually too fun to watch. I had been memeing before about KT, and I was like, oh yeah, you guys are so cool. I can relate to KT.
Why would you want to now? Do you want to join us?
Are you accepting late members? Because I actually want to become a KT fan. No cap.
We will have you any day.
Yes!
Wait, before you accept him, I have something to show the jury.
Okay.
Before you accept him into the KT fan
Is it me drop kicking Kobe?
Wait, we're supposed to predict. Is it prediction?
Is this the year that he's gonna win?
This is the year. This is Chovy's year. I mean, I feel like the devout members of the Church of Chovy. They will be celebrating this year because he has
a true
super
KT fan
team
would say
assembled
this.
around him.
This
Team
as
in the
jinx.
top lane,
We will
a
have you here.
superstar.
Yeah.
I think the best top laner at the entire tournament.
He
is honestly, this team is so fun to watch here at Worlds. Goat over next to
We can
him,
still
and
hear
then
you
of
going,
course,
they have the
Ruler
best
literally
player
deserves to be in the Hall of
I
Fame.
think we can
He came
parlay
home
this
to
in what we
GenG
want to
end his
parlay it
career
in.
here
We don't need to
at
hear
home.
other
And Dora was supposed to be this value pickup.
You
He has
were
turned into
rapturous
superstar.
about GenG
It's
for a
the
while.
long con, you know?
But tell me a little about that because that is some of the reasons that we have so many predictions that go for GenG. Those are so many of the reasons, though, that as we brought up in the pre-show lore, that we have given them before in 2023, in 2024, as you already brought up. And KT, how do you think they move from this position?
I don't want to say too much, but they're in a really good position right now. It's up and we'll go. That's what Peter said at the beginning of the tournament. And I had an interview with him actually for the French broadcast right after he qualified for the semifinals. And he told me 3-0, 3-1 for us. We're coming for GenG. We did it once. We're going to do it convincingly this time around. And so far, he is delivering.
I'm convinced. I don't know about you guys, but I am convinced already.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, the big thing I want to highlight is that it's this roster, right? Like, we talk about how well Doctum's been playing. Pada came in during Split 2. We talk about how well Peter's been doing. Wei came back in after starting Split 1 in Split 3. Like, the fact that it's this kind of ragtag team around the strength of BDD and Cuz, and now they're a match point against GenG in the World's semifinals. How is that even real?
Emily, it's a revenge 8 years in the making, right? If we think back to that World Championship in China, where it didn't go the best for them. Like, tell me about BDD and Cuz, and tell me if they are the ones you trust in for bringing this series home.
I mean, on this roster, I think it is these two that you look at, right? Like, they both just had a phenomenal game. It was these two that pulled out Herculean performances in that initial GenG setup, upset in the upper bracket. So yeah, we'll see.
It's crazy. They don't want to say too much, but I can feel the excitement. We even have a new member for the KT fan club. Yeah, I'm on notice, I know, but they're doing phenomenally. KT can do the unthinkable and make it to the Worlds 2025 Grand Final in this next game. But Chovy, he needs to rip himself out of that nightmare he's living again.
Starfall in from Canyon, looks for the steal, but immediately he's yeeted. The keeper's verdict finds him guilty, and Emperor's Divide knocks the world ender into the middle. The shockwave finds KT, but Duro dives in, and the rest of GenG just can't follow him. KT claim the soul, they claim the kills, and they claim GenG's lives.
KT is just running through the fight. Chovy's in trouble. BDD's going.
BDD can still chase him in. He's the only one left alive. Chovy stands alone as KT clean up the fight.
And that is a 5-for-1.
Players in the world are here.
They can just burn this one down. Oh my god, forward by 9!
You are going to see them like you've never seen them before.
Rocket Will as the Arcane Storm doing so much work in GenG! They are just going to ace them!
누구 만나도 이길 수 있다는 자신감 정도로만 생각하고 있습니다.
GenG, the EWC winners!
Break down my walls, but I won't rise again. Cause I stand tall in my environment. How could I ever close my eyes and stay silent since they try to take me down with their violence?
Oh, they go back in! Betcha flashes in, and down goes Knight!
Alright guys, I just landed in China. Let's go.
Play the local way, pay your way.
Have you ever seen the Great Wall at night?
Play the local way, pay your way.
The funniest thing, getting humbled by Poppy. We've seen it happen almost 4 times at
Red
Worlds.
Bull gives you
Here for
wings.
teams. But it's just like, I don't know. I'm still a GenG fan no matter what happens in series. But it will be the pinnacle of funny if KT make World Finals and then get 3-0 by T1. And then T1's like, oh, go back. It's like, T1, you didn't really have to play against anyone different. Played against AL, TS, KT. Imagine that, bro. Like, that's like last year where they played against Weibo in World Finals, and it's just fraudulent. Fraud!
Welcome back to Worlds 2025, where we are one game away from the rebellion of the underdog. As BDD said it in the trailer, so it has become true. KT are one game away, one nexus away from claiming their spot in the finals.
And it's just been incredible to watch. KT just feel like they are playing as though they are the favorites. They are playing with so much confidence. They're playing with so much poise. When things go wrong for them in game, it doesn't matter. They seem to regroup. They go right back at them. And GenG, they need to try to pull it together here. This is still easily a winnable series for them. But Chovy has been getting really outclassed by BDD. I think that's the elephant in the room. And Canyon was not impactful in that last game whatsoever either.
It really is a repeat of when the upset came through. And that was, I think, a series where there was, you know, a little bit more at play. It was the LCK playoffs. GenG was the one that ended up picking KT, obviously, which, especially if this upset come through, will be one of the funniest facts of all time. But it's also a GenG that a couple of days ago against Hanwha showed a completely different level of gameplay, right? And that is one thing, but on the other hand, as highlighted, Perfect and Peter in particular are just unrecognizable in their consistency. We've seen the moments of these players throughout the year. There were every now and then. We saw Perfect have a crazy Rumble game. Peter had pop-off performances. As that Zoe ban I was actually looking out for, because getting Chovy on a comfortable matchup after that last disaster of a game needs to be the priority.
It's so important. And I mean, that's not even just the one. It's the Ziggs and the Zoe. That's the pairing that KT used.
Oh, I love that.
And Nidalee ban here against Canyon, like you said, hey, we don't get comfort, you don't get comfort. And I had talked about how incredible I felt Keen had played through those first two games. Perfect, I actually feel like just outplayed him last game. I think he had more of an impact on the game, even getting counterpicked by my best top laner in the world. Perfect had such an impact on the game, was really steady. And Canyon is gonna go towards that Skarner.
Goes for the early tank. A lot of them already taken off the boards. You see the Sion gone, the Rek'Sai, the K'Sante, the Ornn, the last real big tank that you can play out of the top side. See how strong Canyon can be on these Impales, considering usually he plays the Nidalee in game 4. That has a spear that impales. This has a Skarner that impales. Mundo, a possible answer.
Mundo jungle is really strong into other tank junglers because you need to hit both parts of your CC to actually deal with the canister, right? It's similar to the idea of bringing it out against Sejuani. It can be very difficult for Skarner to actually do much against Mundo. Mundo can outpace you as far as the farm, outscales you as far as, you know, what you're going to do in the team fights, as far as being a front line. And going to Kalista as well here for Doctum. So now I'm expecting some spice here with Peter. I wonder if we're going to get like a Renata or something along that to really go for a power duo here. KT are just throwing down the gauntlet.
It's understandable because that last game as well, showcasing that Doctum and Peter, when the matchup is right, can just get the better end of their opponents.
Lucian
also,
Braum, maybe?
Yeah, would make sense. Also, I think that the Kalista is a pick that Ruler used to just not get to play for many a year in the LCK, as there is the Braum, which has been a standout performer for Duro,
Renata.
but yeah, that Renata should come as no surprise.
Yeah, it just makes a ton of sense. And Braum has also been getting banned second phase a lot in this series, it felt like. So we're going to be dealing with that. I think Renata makes so much sense here. And a lot of pressure on Ruler already. I mean, these are that GenG style of play where you don't always have the most damage from your other members. Of course, they still could draft a strong carry for Chovy and for Keen. We don't know. But Ruler, they are always depending on him to really show up in these big moments. And that's something he's done throughout his entire career.
Something he always does on this Lucian as well. There are 3 players I really trust to play it. Paze, Viper, and Ruler, really the 3 that I put up there for the Lucian. We'll see how much impact he can have. Hwei banned away by KT. I like it because KT don't have a huge amount of dashes. The Spiraling Despair, if it goes on a Mundo, that's a large area you have to avoid.
Could also see them either banning or R4ing Victor here. That's been one of the comfort picks for Chovy, something he has gone towards many times in these type of high-stakes situations. A pick that in theory also has a really impressive laning phase. And either I think they're going to pick it here or they're going to ban it away.
That was kind of my thought process, was double ban Chovy and then pick mid on 4 and really try to limit him. I mean, he's just looked so uncomfortable in this series.
Yeah.
You know, multiple flashes that really at poor times, not flashing, you know, the arrow at critical moments. So I really rate that as a strategy. Just try to take away as much as you possibly can. there are so many mid lane bans already. Now the question is, do GenG ban out the Victor, or are they unconcerned about it? Because if you take away the Victor, then you start getting into like melee mid territory, or really kind of the weirder control mages.
The one thing with the Victor is that an Akali counterpick is something that, if you're performing well, can work wonders, but is the trust there? I also want to call back our minds to 2021 BDD back then. Together with Rulo, was one game away from making it to World Finals. He finds himself in the same position as the blind Cassio. Big risk here.
It is absolutely risky. I mean, it definitely can shred through this front line, but generally speaking, Cassio struggles into range, right? So now there is that possibility of Chovy just goes Victor, and I feel like you have the advantage in that lane. In the 1v1, you can kind of just outrange and poke and prod with the lasers here.
Is there ever a possibility of Cassio top?
There is.
Something we haven't seen for a while.
But I really don't think so. With this many mid lane bans, I feel like that thought process, I feel like Yorick blind is always really risky. I know that they banned the Renekton. There's a lot of top laners like Avessa and stuff that are popular in the LCK as answers. But to me, I always think about things like Cho'Gath that are up. And Cho'Gath actually just one-shots the Maiden at level 6, scales really well. It's an easy answer that can then team fight better. We have seen some Anivia come out. Caps played it, Faker played it.
Gives you incredible area control, really hard to siege your towers, and when you have a short-range comp with things like a Kalista, the Anivia Glacial Storm does a huge amount of work. What a KT going for the top. Into the Yorick. I like Cho.
I mean, I think it just gives you an insane front line. But you are very vulnerable to the Anivia as well, so that is problematic.
We'll have to see. Chovy back against the wall, goes for the Anivia, which into both the Kalista, the Renata, and the Cassio, I think is going to feel great. And Perfect just going to keep doing his job as he has been this series. Going to lock in the tank, try and get as much impact as possible, but I do have to say, I don't love picking Ornn into Braum. That to me is always a matchup that there is a ton of value. It's so easy to deny the second activation of the ult. One thing about the Cassio though, trying to play Skarner, who really is their only engage, into Cassio is a bit of a nightmare.
Yeah, that is a nightmare for sure, but I feel like it's easier for GenG to play that kind of like poke and prod, the disengage game, because you have Anivia, you have the side lane that should have, you know, Keen with the advantage on the Yorick, so he can be playing through sides, and I feel like it's more on KT to be able to force fights then, where, you know, you can have Ruler every time Culling's up, just looking for chunks, just trying to soften you up. If you try to enter the fight, you're getting walled off, you're getting the Braum wall thrown up, so I do feel like I prefer GenG's draft in this one, but that being said, the way that the play has gone, it's been KT that's playing the better series, and they do have some strong scaling options on their side, of course. You know, you do hit a certain point in the game where Cassio can become quite tanky. You have Mundo, you have Ornn upgrades that are going to be coming through.
If there is a god,
and
we
that
get a game
score
5.
walks off.
We get a
He was on
game
GenG
5.
when they got
game
stranded
5.
in quarterfinals in 2023.
Duro,
found his way
Ruler,
back to his old team a year
Elevate
later.
your teammates when they're
Now,
sucking these big
match
fat
point.
black cocks.
Everything on the
I pray
line.
to the
And
Church of
KT,
GenG, not
even
the
if they
Church
lose
of
the
Chovy,
next
that
game, they'll
church
get side
is
selection
destroyed.
going
It's
into
the
that
Church
possible
of
game number
GenG.
5.
Once more onto the breach for GenG and KT. For GenG, a game in which you can turn the tides into your favor, but really at the back of your mind always, there'll be that leering doubt, that looming threat of elimination in a series that you should have dominated. For KT, it's one step closer to those finals. It's one step further into Never Neverland, into a miracle. And they have constantly shown throughout this series that they will bend but not break.
I mean, this is a KT that at Worlds now is 9-1. It's crazy, right? And there were those questions being posed. Yeah, well, you were 7-0 coming in, but it's GenG. So now you're going to go 3-0, and then you're going to go home, right? And now they have proven that they can take it to GenG as well. They really are just rising to the moment. You know, they're playing with no fear, and their players are stepping up and really shining, it feels like, on this world stage.
And it's the power of the vibes, right? It's something that KT themselves have talked about a lot. The atmosphere within this team, something that we always go towards Peter, but it's not just him. It's also BDD that is a player that is loved by so many. that is well regarded as both a teammate and just as one of the best mid laners in the LCK. A league, by the way, where you're going up against both domestic Chovy, the best player of all time, and then even players like Zeka and Showmaker on a daily basis.
And that is the thing that has always felt a bit almost, I want to say unfair for BDD, is that I think at times he just is the best mid laner in the world. Like, he has these stretches in his career where he's playing out of his mind. That's perfect. You've got to respect that level too. You cannot allow York to get these free E's because the ghouls do so much damage. But you know, BDD hasn't always had the same luxury of some of these other mid laners to be surrounded by superstars, to be, you know, set up in that same kind of way. And it's just beautiful to see him playing this well. I mean, his career has spanned such a long time at this point. He has been able to maintain his play at just a world elite level for years and years and years and years.
And there are years that would have broken a lot of players, right? I keep going back to that Nongshim roster of 2022, a roster that historically underperformed despite some big names on there. A team that then was followed up by Peter's team as they won challengers, were fully promoted, and that team had glimpses of brilliance, but by and large, we're still a roster that didn't really make too many waves. Although, you know, I did love them very dearly, funny as they were. One thing I do want to highlight is that Cuz this time around doesn't have the same jungle pressure that he does. As strong as I think the Mundo is in this position, I do feel like we need to highlight that early ganking possibility isn't quite as strong, because walking in and hitting a cleaver, not quite a flag and drag.
No, not at all. But that being said, you don't have to. You can just play for that scaling. And I mean, obviously, it can be very difficult for a jungle Mundo to get to, you know, the promised land, the level 16. But if you can power farm and just kind of show up to objectives, you can be quite strong in these objective skirmishes, you know, even relatively early on. The W, as well as, you know, fully ticking ultimate, is just so much HP that your opponents have to work through. And there's no ignite, there's no like easy heal cut that is going to be applied. Of course, we're assuming someone will buy an Oblivion over something at some point. But Mundo can really be a problematic champion.
Canyon spotted as he walks up towards the top side. He's going to recall after finishing that Scuttle Crab. Cuz already back out on the map with double Ruby Crystal. I've been seeing some discussions about first Mundo items. A lot of junglers here at the at Worlds are going Heartsteel. I've seen some people say Warmog's first is actually better. Gives you extra sustain and extra mana through the jungle. And then you are, well, it keeps you topped up through the jungle. And then you get the Heartsteel second. And although you're stacking later, you're still getting bigger stacks. So kind of beneficial overall.
Yeah, Mundo is one of those champions where you can just go free Giants belts and be like, yes.
Yeah.
Feeling great about it. We do have Keen, as expected, finding the early impact, but Perfect's job is, as it has been in many of these games, just absorb that pressure and try and make sure that Keen doesn't build too much of a lead.
Absolutely, and I mean, it's always a little bit difficult when you're playing against the York, because the York just crushes towers so fast. So, you know, if you are losing the push, if you are making any mistakes, it can be incredibly punishing, but you know, the Wave obviously pushing very heavily away from Perfect. He has up a couple CS, but there's many more than that to farm. And I think Keen's going to easily be able to keep this off his tower. So Perfect is going to have to try to fix this wave. He can't base right now.
Handshake out from Peter, forces Jura to use the Unbreakable. Cuz has already started the Dragon, spamming out those spells. Double Ruby Crystal obviously helping him get through more of those. Canyon's coming across though. The KT bot lane is the first to move. Perfect hits level 6, does have the teleport if the Call of the Forge Gods needed. Cuz and KT should be able to secure the first Drake. BDD looks for the Petrifying Gaze. Canyon. Ishtar's impacts away from it.
A little bit too predictable there. Canyon swerving out of his death. Would have definitely ended up going down there if BDD had found him with the gaze. Not the end of the world. KT still gets the dragon, which is what they were playing for. And your stat still holds true, Medic, from the last game, where...
First two Drakes means you win the game.
There you go.
That's what it's been so far this series. We'll see if KT can keep that up. Some damage going down onto Ruler. Heal was used by Peter as well for the chase, but Jura with a good Unbreakable.
Canyon's going to get spotted there by the Kalista W, so the Sentinel does spot him, so they are going to be aware. And will clear out that ward, but we're just seeing Peter and Dogdom play with that confidence. Trying to play in their face, and Cuz looking to cover. I mean, you want these kind of lanes to be able to play aggressive, right? And that does require jungle tracking and coverage, so that's why we see Cuz down here after that ward got cleared out.
This is also where KT are most likely to develop an early lead. You can see topside, Perfect is just trying to survive. He's already 350 gold behind. Dogdam and Peter the target for KT if they want to get those early advantages, and there's only a small gold lead for them overall.
Right now, neither team really wanting to get too much going. This is also one of those games where I think you can look either way when it comes to the power of the composition, right? There are some parts, the Mundo to me is always the standard, but even Ornn and Cassio both have incredible scaling as we get into the late game. And on the flip side, you have the side lane threat of the Yorick as well as the Anivia that does become really, really tough to engage in.
Yeah, and the question is always one of range for me, right? Because if the Cassio can get a range, if the Mundo can get a range, if you can get up there, it is really, really powerful, but it's sometimes very difficult to close the gap against champions with really powerful slows, right? Because the canister is going to stop your point and click stun, but it doesn't just make you immune to slows or anything like that. You know, the Anivia can be still walling you off, keeping you out. You know, that can be difficult to deal with, and I think that is going to be the question. You know, can they actually play around the creatable terrain, you know, the Yorick cage, the Anivia W, all of these tools to kind of keep them at arm's length and try to whittle them down.
And we have seen a suspicious amount of Mundos in this tournament just like get one-tapped, where I think you feel safe, right? You have the canister, you have the W, you have the ultimate. And that's something that hopefully will not be happening to Cuz if you are a KT fan, as we do have some movement towards the top side of the map.
It's all about that CC layering, because he can't pop the maximum doses when he's crowd controlled. So if you can get him CC layered through the canister and take him down before that effective HP comes back, it's easy enough to kill off the Mundo. Grub started by GenG. Chovy the first to move from mid. BDD forced back underneath his tower. Cuz trying to make his way in here, but with the concussive blows about to proc, I think he might back away. Puts the Q back into GenG. The first Grub's gonna go as Peter begins to step up. BDD still looking for the flank. There's the second Grub as they pull in with a hostile takeover, even by the Unbreakable. BDD with a great petrifying gaze. Finds 3. Juro chased away here, has to flash. Ruler doing the same. Dogtime still on the chase. Chovy able to pick up BDD on the back line. The wall enough to save Ruler. GenG get out with 2 Grubs and a 1-for-1.
Yeah, Ruler barely limps out of that one. That was incredibly close to taking him down here. KT will be able to go back and grab 1 Grub. BDD walks away with first blood, but Chovy gets one here too, and this is just such a close fight. Credit to Peter, he kind of just forced his way through here, putting the pressure onto Chovy.
And it really did feel like the series was teetering on the edge here, as BDD initially doesn't hit the mark, but then that ultimate right there, it's only because of the Impale that I think this fight is even remotely close, and then Chovy here is able to just keep Ruler alive. If he goes down as well, that's another kill for Dogdom. And I think that phase from Helper, very appropriate given the situation. They are denied the triple grab for the Yorick though.
That was really close. Did Dogdom rend before the barrier expired? It looked like he just might have. It was just on the edge of that barrier expiring, but I think he might have rended a split second too early. Which definitely would have been the difference for Ruler surviving or dying, but of course difficult to stay in range there as well as he's running back under that tower. Very close start to this game here.
GenG about 300 gold ahead, nothing too consequential. Peter and Dogdam back towards this bottom side. Cuz on his way across. A big gold lead for Keen in that top lane. Building up towards the Triforce, a big spike for the Yorick overall. Canyon, Ishtar's impact's not going to get him across the wall. There's the miasma to follow up. KT on the chase, Canyon's going to flash. And that will be down for the Drake in 10 seconds time.
I like that from Peter. The flash is definitely a lot less valuable, especially when you have Kalista. Though the ultimate is not up right now for Kalista, they have to delay a little bit. All these key ultimates are long cooldowns for KT. Mundo, 5 seconds till that's up, 5 seconds till Cassio ult, a little bit until that hostile takeover. KT want this to be played slowly.
You need to be careful though. If you lose control of an area into Braum and Anivia, retaking it is an absolute nightmare. As Dragon gets started up, Keen just straight up walked all the way down, but there comes the teleport from Perfect.
Teleport from Perfect. They're looking for the call of Forge God here. Cuz going in, maximum dose juice. Hostile takeover. Lands onto Canyon. Cuz stepping into Duro. Cuz CC flashes away. The smite comes out from Canyon. GenG secure it. Call of the Forge God from Perfect as they flash forward. BDD looking for the petrifying gaze, but can't quite find it. Keen falling lower. Perfect on the chase. KT find 1. But the Drake's already gone over to GenG. KT will look for a little bit more. Noxious Blast from BDD. The Fates call. Calls the Braum to an early grave as KT find a second.
And the 2 Drakes are denied. to KT, but they will get a bunch of extra kills, so I don't think they're going to be too sad about it. One kill going to BDD, and one going to Dokdam.
And Cuz is just focusing purely on the fight. You'll notice he doesn't even try to actually go for the smite fight. Canyon commits to this, as Cuz just goes straight in onto Duro. This fight could have been so much worse, but watch from Perfect here. He's not really able to land the combo very well, and then whiffs the stun on the wall. If he caught Ruler and Chovy there, I think it's a wipe, and he barely missed to the right. So a little bit of a misstep from Perfect. Saves that from being a total disaster for GenG. Otherwise, KT would have gotten so much more.
You see some shaking on the player cams there as well. As we look at KT with a 1,000 gold lead, and there is a time in a series like this where it goes from unexpected victories into anxiety about what could be. And for KT, I feel that might be hitting right now. It's gone from, oh, well, we're playing GenG, maybe we'll pick up a couple of wins, now into, we're 10 minutes, 20 minutes away from a World's Finals. We're 10 minutes, 20 minutes away from the furthest we have ever gone as an organization, by a long way. Before this, it was quarterfinals, and from a battle to claim ourselves the 2025 World Champs, and they are looking for Chovy once again, the key target for GenG. As they chase in, Chovy's gonna flash the handshake and gets himself out. The bird no longer has that summoner.
And good attention being paid here. It's Dokdam and Peter making their presence known on the rest of the map. GenG, I don't think get too much. They will be able to get the wave crash. We'll see if they're also going to play for maybe a little bit of a delay there as they stay in the tri-brush. BDD is covering though.
Ruler and Duro looking for them. Peter and Dokdam should just be able to walk in here.
I've just loved how Peter has actually played this game. He's really been active on the map, putting on a lot of pressure. He is not just sitting in the back and playing scared. He's forcing his way in at that early grub fight. He's trading flashes with Canyon. He's wrapping around and looking for plays, getting the flash out of Chovy as well. This is what you want to see someone do when they have lane prio. If you cannot advance it in your 2v2, you need to use that tempo to get out on the map and make things happen. And I think Peter has done a great job with that so far in this game 4.
Looking at the item spikes, Dokdam has his blade. BDD ahead on the stacking. I think we'll be about 2, possibly even 3 ahead of Chovy by the time that Chovy finishes his, obviously having to invest his money in boots, unfortunately for him. No such costs for BDD.
It's champ diff. That's all it is right there. Boots
Which it doesn't even make sense because it's a bird.
Yeah, you have to put them on the talons, man.
You don't. No, you don't.
No, otherwise their claws get dirty.
Back me up here.
What are you talking about?
Brazil. Birds don't need boots.
Nah.
I mean, what if he has cold talons?
He is an ice bird.
Yeah, that lends more to my point.
He is the embodiment of ice.
He's got to be constantly cold.
No.
It sounds terrible.
No way.
It does sound
okay, well,
we need like a Christmas skin for Anivia with little booties and a hat, you know?
To disagree. It's fine.
Maybe a nice Christmas sweater.
The important point of it all was that Chovy had to finish his Swifties before he can get his Rod of Ages, which is now stacking up. It's about 2 stacks behind BDD, who has a fiendish codex to buff up his Tear of the Goddess. 1,000 gold, still the lead for KT. Herald up in 20 seconds time. You can see their bot lanes on the top side. Keen is matching them though, as Ruler and Duro actually commanding the middle of the map right now.
And this is where the tenacity for GenG really is going to get tested, because KT, I want to again reiterate, they will have side selection going into a game number 5. They're the team that there was no expectations on today, and they're a team that coming in was full of confidence as well. Peter was like, you know, I'm feeling good. Did an interview with Kenzie, said, I think it'll be 3-0, 3-1 maybe. And those are the type of vibes, the confidence that is hard to match as we go into another team fight for Herald.
GenG have all 5 players here immediately. TP to the mid lane from Perfect. He's a long way away. The Herald already down to 5,500 HP as GenG look for it. BDD on the flank. Duro flash, Winter's Bite into the Glacial Fissure. They dodge a petrifying gaze, but Duro's still caught by it. Flash hostile takeover coming out into the Fate's Call. The Cuz is able to get the Herald as Keen tries to get onto that back line, but so much work here from KT. They've already found 2 in the fight, and the tides are very much in their favor. They'll chase down Canyon. KT raw to life in game 4.
Duro thought he found an angle onto BDD, but it's so hard to engage past the miasma. GenG can't really follow up whatsoever. And then everyone else from KT swoops in behind the GenG members. Dokdam was untouched throughout that entire fight. So much space was created.
It's the engage Braum that puts GenG in a serious deficit. The Chemtech Drake, second one, going to get picked up for KT, and That's again a good Chemtech angle with Mundo, with Renata. As we take another look, I think this is where you see the desperation. Duro tries to go in, does hit the ult, but with BDD's flash and the response from Peter, flashes over the wall, hits the ultimate, and then immediately gets pulled back. And Canyon, he's impaling, but for what?
I mean, Peter knows exactly how an engaged Braun wants to play. That's how they beat CFO in game 1 of the quarterfinals. The chase continues from KT, and you can see for GenG, they just never wanted to get into that choke point.
No, not at all. And I mean, it's impatience from GenG. They're a team, to me, that is synonymous with being able to play towards your win conditions, play towards the strengths of the composition. But we had talked about how you need to play around your range. You need to play around the fact that you can wall people out and outrange the Casio, outrange this Kalista, utilize the created terrain from the Anivia and the Yorick to create problems for the KT members. But instead, you're trying to flash for the engage, you're trying to make the big play, and your team has to try to walk through hostile takeover Miasma to try to follow up. There's just no way that can ever work. And GenG get antsy and are massively punished for it.
And now a 3,000 gold lead for KT, 17 minutes into Drake's to them. Dokdam at 1.2k ahead himself as Canyon here to try and defend the mid lane tower. The bone saw from Cuz goes wide. The turret's still very healthy. There's a Herald in Dokdam's pockets. I expect to see that waited for a little bit as Cuz walks up towards the top side. Chovy backs away, realizing that he doesn't have support right now.
And Dokdam playing with Kalista with a 1.3k gold lead now into the Lucian. Gonna be feeling good about that.
Miasma down, there's the wall. BDD needs some backup, and he finds it immediately as Cuz chases Canyon out. And in the end, Chovy actually the one forced away up towards this top side.
And you see the immediate response. This time though, GenG might get something out of it, but because Perfect also rotated over in anticipation of a possible fight, and now Keen is gonna get some time alone. Triforce done. This turret not long for this world.
Yeah, it is really dangerous anytime you're leaving Yorick alone, especially if he's playing Demolish. The towers just melt completely. You always have that as a backup plan here. Allow Keen to get pressure. Try to just stall out these fights. Yorick really not very powerful in the 5v5 in most situations. So maybe that's what they need to do. Try to force their opponents to overgroup, try to create advantages through that side lane, but they just haven't really been able to find it. And it feels like KT are completely in their comfort zone right now. Dokdam is going to have his second item here pretty shortly. Has a 1,000 gold lead. Cuz has just been power farming throughout this game, 160 CS, and he has got level 12 already.
If you're a KT fan, I'm not sure how happy you are about that win probability, because for a lot of people, they're going to get excited when they see that.
It's time to get excited. That meme is dead. They made semifinals. They're on the precipice of beating GenG.
Yeah.
If you're not excited, I don't even know if you're breathing at this point.
Get out of here.
I
don't want you to actually get out of here, man.
No, you can stay.
I'm just here for the best League of Legends in the world, and at the moment, it is KT that are bringing that to us. 2,000 gold ahead. Has shrunk with that tower falling on the bottom side. Too Keen. Perfect's going to try and get the push in the top side. A minute 40 before the next dragon. Chemsoul for KT would be absolutely devastating for GenG.
Looking at some of the spikes here. Keen about to hit a second item. We do have Ruler with the Flicker Blades now done. Actually, Dokdam also, as I say it, finishing his Rage Blade. And GenG, the fact that Perfect is even up in experience, right, against Keen is such a big deal. Ornn is one of those carries that, or characters rather, that loves being on at least par with his opponent, but that is even better. You're going to be able to give out the ornaments at a moment's notice, as this might end up being the fight that decides the series.
The list is so good at securing objectives like this, but KT started up, then back away, realized GenG are on this side of the map. They weren't sure, they didn't have the vision in the GenG jungle. And because of that, they then back away. BDD will have a little bit of time to push out mid. Keen working his way down from the top side. Arakan begins to reset. Herald down. Can be an escape route or can be Peter. Where are you going with this? He's taking it into the terrain. Cuz caught out as Canyon looks for the flank, the wall down. Cuz trying to get on the right side of it and is able to walk away. Riftel charging in to GenG, but isn't going to be able to do too much. Keen still looking for that flank from the top side as GenG continue to leash the Atakan.
Yeah, GenG trying to force KT's hand. They got some critical cooldowns there. No Mundo ult is massive, and they're getting sown by the Anivia.
There's a hostile takeover. Duro will be looking for that Unbreakable. Chovy forced away towards the Tri-Bush. 6,000 HP on the Atakan right now. Impale lands. Hostile takeover coming out as well. It's eaten by the Unbreakable. BDD flashing forward with the Miasma. Redemption's coming out as Dogdam dances around the fight. Keen forced to flash away. Perfect able to escape with a sliver of HP, as is Peter. Ruler now on the front line. He stares into the eyes of BDD and he's turned to stone. His tombstone litters the rift as KT win the fight at Atakan.
It's KT winning the fight, getting the Otacon, and they are going for the Dragon here as well. It's going to be KT on soul point, on match point, 8-1, and on the precipice of one of the most unlikely finalists in World's history.
And it is KT that punish a GenG that thinks we can make it work. Some of the cooldowns are down. But this is such an awkward position to fight. Yes, they find perfect, but he still gets off his combo. It doesn't actually end up mattering. And with Chovy unable to do the damage, with Keen up in the back half, Ruler tries to find his window, but instead just gets ulted. BDD takes out so much of the damage.
BDD has just been so stalwart for KT in this series.
You can see the
moving in, flashing forward, creating so much chaos in the fight, and then finding the ulti onto Ruler, who has no cleanse, who has no QSS, gets stunned up and taken down. You can see the top side as well, the Mundo as well as the Orin getting a lot of damage out. I don't know if you misspoke when you called Orin to carry. He's getting in there, man.
Chovy and Ruler topping the damage charts for GenG, and every fight it feels like they're trying to do everything they can, but they're preaching to the choir. KT have heard this song before, and
it's a best
for the moment they constantly are outplaying in team fights. GenG have not had the macro dominance that you expect from the LCK #1 seeds, and KT constantly are pushing them back.
And you can see ornaments coming through. We already had the one on Orn before that fight. Now we have the upgraded Rage Blade as well. And that is more stats backing KT here as we move closer and closer to what is starting to really feel like a one-fight game. You just don't think you can give over Soul. A triple Chemtech Soul for Mundo of all champions. It's just how are you going to be able to burst down Cuz? And I mean, he's almost level 14. He's kept his farm up so damn well throughout the game.
He's almost a full level up on Canyon. There's also the Renata. Even Orn becomes so much harder to kill, and this is going to be a test for GenG, and it's starting increasingly to feel like they're just not able to have the answers. Normally it's about the Keen test, but Perfect currently passing with flying colors. Cosmic Drive done for BDD. We'll see what item finishes GenG can get to. And the pedals was really the one advantage they had. I think they were sitting at like 23 to like, what was it, like 4 to 6? Yeah, coming up on the 5. But that small advantage that they were clinging onto, gone after that Otacon. Item breakpoints, I think, might be too far away. 2 minutes until we will see that Chemtech Dragon to come through.
The thing for KT is as well, if they ever get a small moment with a neutral objective and GenG are misplaced on the map, Cassio, Callista, and Mundo, they just wipe. It's just gone. It's immediately deleted. So GenG now have to be so cautious about not overstepping somewhere else. Keen has been designated the side lane pusher, as you'd expect it. He has a Maiden to help him do that. But now Perfect's moving to the mid lane as KT are look to try and take this tier 1. Cuz on the right side of the wall that time escapes the clutches of Canyon and Chovy.
And Chovy has gone for just a very slow build, right? You know, you are going for so much scaling. Once you get to Leandries, finally there's going to be some real damage coming in behind it. But a tremendous amount of pressure on Chovy and Ruler to really get the damage done. And you have to say, there's no one else other than Ruler you would rather have in this high-pressure situation on a Lucian. To me, this guy really does make Lucian look like a hyper carry in the late game at times. He can walk that nice edge so incredibly well, but one step wrong, you're playing no cleanse, you're playing no QSS, you get hit by a hostile takeover, you get hit by a stun here from BDD, and you're cooked.
There's just so much, right? There is Peter, who, by the way, has been flashing in on every single handshake, as we have seen, flashing into hostile takeovers. Then there is Cuz, who, if he walks you down, can blow you up. There's all the CC for Perfect. You already highlighted the miasma. And Dokdam is also sitting on the lead. And it really does feel like KT just one more fight away, 40 seconds on the clock. Ruler does not finish his third item, will not be getting that Executioners here for this fight.
Dokdam yet to get that third item as well, just have the recurve bow. Must be sitting on a sizable chunk of change as the control wards come out in the mid lane. GenG get control of the Dragon River to start us off. Cuz can walk wherever he pleases. As the Bella's Breath from Perfect blocks a bit of CC, Dark Possession down. KT corralled back into the mid lane. Chovy takes a chunk. Perfect's the one to face check here as Cuz goes in as well. KT need to work as 5 and they do so. They take down the Maiden. Perfect slams his face into the wall and GenG back away. Now KT have control. Cuz still has the flash here. With the culling coming down, Cuz able to survive it. The redemption used and the maximum dosage pops on him as well. GenG now, without their AD carries ultimate, have to fight around the Chem Soul. KT started up, Dokdam looking to put the spears into the Dragon Phase, call out the Impale only lands on the Perfect, and he doesn't really care that he's in the middle of GenG. He flashes out, escapes the storm of Chovy, and KT can just back away. They can look for more of a fight if they want.
Yeah, the question is, can GenG find something? Because I don't know if they want to play patient from here. They feel the pressure right now.
Where's the TP coming from Perfect? It's a little bit defensive. KT trying to push towards that mid lane, make sure they're not going to lose their tier 2. They just sacrificed the tier 1, but a Chem Soul, the priceless moment of the game here for KT.
And it felt like KT, or GenG rather, was trying to play for the fight with the position that Canyon took there. He ulted Perfect with the idea of trying to play for that. But instead, they got neither, right? They weren't able to really do anything to Perfect, still sitting on Perfect KDA. And now it's KT that takes control of this Baron pit, and they might very well try to force GenG into a fight.
They're looking for the fight. Hostile takeover going down as Canyon has to flash away. Has a Mega Blast Cone there for him to try and escape, but there's no Fate's Call, there's no hostile takeover, there's no maximum dosage, and there's no Call of the Forge God. Will GenG want to take the fight? Azale thinks it's already over, and perhaps it is for KT. GenG stepping forward, KT still on that Baron, 5,000 on it as Canyon looks for a flank position. The Baron, the target for KT, they'll smite it, they'll secure it. Dokdam stepping forward, dashing onto Keen, the damage on the Perfect as well, but a petrifying gaze once again from BDD. He sends GenG home in body bags. Chovy trying to escape, and he will manage to get to the safety of his tower.
And BDD says, I am going to the World Finals as he flashes in. Perfect finds the perfect knock-up. The
Justice for
there,
BDD,
the soul is there.
This man's been trying for so long to make the World
there's
Finals.
No way
Never made
and
the
that they
World
don't just end from here.
You have to feel it. Shanghai feels it too. The crowd in
feel so bad
rapture
if
by
he won
KT.
3-0 TS.
The one last ride on the roller coaster.
And KT.
As perhaps
that
it's a ticket to the finals.
And Canyon, when he backed off there, he went to Wolves, and you just can't give any time to a team with this composition. I mean, look at him, he's over by Wolves. He was trying to heal back up, but it just gets burst down so fast, and the Secure is incredibly strong with the Rend plus the Mundo damage, and then BDD freezes them where they stand. Alt flash, Ruler dies instantly. Dokdam, no hesitation, they all flash forward. They knock down Ruler, and GenG are stunned. They can't believe it.
And this is where Ruler's journey stranded in 2023. Semi-finals, a 3-1 loss to T1. They were coming in as the heavy favorites. MSI was theirs, and it feels like a retread of that story as KT, the gold lead keeps growing, the nerves unwinding, and the roller coaster is about to go higher than it's ever gone.
One last gasp for GenG, one last breath to read KT their last rites, but at the moment it is KT who are composing GenG's eulogy. They try to defend in the bot lane, KT will push up as 4. Meanwhile in mid, Perfect and Keen bashing heads against each other. The hostile takeover eaten by the Unbreakable. KT back away. Glacial Storm doing a lot of work here from the Anivia.
Chovy just trying to delay as much as he possibly can. They do have such strong wave clear with this Anivia, but Perfect has been pushing mid lane. And the question is, can they clear this wave out as well?
Dark Possession coming down, will catch on to Peter, who falls below half HP. Perfect, the same, the Redemption, outface Cool. Used to pull Peter out of harm's way. But because of that, GenG know one of the engage tools for KT is down.
I mean, GenG are doing a great job holding at the inhibitors here. It's so tough to siege into an Anivia, even with the Baron buff. But the problem really becomes, how do you ever have an even fight outside of your base, right? And this Elder is coming up here under 2 minutes now. GenG
Mega Blast going on to
Perfect. Got to try to find something.
They're looking for it. Perfect. There's Canyon comes in. Ishtal's impact for the CC. Perfect's going to try and walk his way out of this one, but even with a Bellows Breath, even with a double knockup, Perfect cannot survive. His KDA goes from Perfect to Imp as he goes 2-1 and 6.
That doesn't really line up with the timing that GenG were looking for, though, because by the time that this Elder spawns, Perfect will be up, teleport in hand, unbothered. Keen might get a bounty for his effort. I don't know if it is going to lead to anything meaningful, as you can just feel the wheels of fate turning here in favor of KT.
And if Keen over pushes, you can see BDD and Cuz are moving up. I think Keen is going to die, and
Chase
this timing might matter.
BDD going in, Dark Possession being used. BDD needs to auto that down because has the flank position on towards this Yorick. Keen has no flash, no hope.
They're delaying
it. No life left. They'll delay it because in 55 seconds, the Elder will spawn. Cuz can chase him down with the Bone Saw as Keen has no one here to help him. BDD in the end will claim the kill with Twin Fangs and with hope of an Elder to win the game.
It's just brilliant here from KT, the presence of mind in a game like this, delaying the respawn. Keen will be up about 10 seconds too late for this Elder. He will have his teleport, though.
And it's BDD taking down his old teammate in the side lane. They tried to make it in 2023. They were unable to get past JDG. It was another KT performance that, even though it was admirable, they put up a good fight, it just wasn't enough.
Cuz is 16, that is massive for the Mundo. Did get there before this final fight.
Dogdamp just finished his Guardian Angel as well. He's on his way out of the base, so it's going to take him a little bit of time to arrive here. Cuz steps forward as the Mundo, he's going where he pleases right now. BDD, BDD, BDD! He's looking for the flank, and here comes BDD! Miasma onto Juro, GenG forced up towards the top side of the fight. The face call onto Peter, handshake going wide, calling out, hostile takeover used as well. And KT haven't found the engage that they wanted out of this as GenG begin to turn it around. A good wall, but Perfect breaks it. Slams his noggin in the gate against it and cracks it in twain. GenG still looking for the fight here as BDD once again is on the flank.
Yeah, BDD looking for the flank, but Perfect already got low, and Cuz has no ult now. Chovy just controlling that space beautifully. GenG have a chance here. They're trying to buy time for the Orin to TP back.
It's the last stand here from GenG, desperately trying not to give it over, but there we go, Orin's back. His cooldown still available.
Chovy on the flank, blast cone down, Cuz cleansed away with them. Mikhail's Canyon in the pit, Cuz has to flash. As they look for the engage, Canyon going in, Cuz in the middle of the pit as well. The redemption coming out from GenG. Cuz trying to get out of that Dark Possession. The morning mist landing on towards the backline. The Elder down to 7,000. Good stun coming out. The corner of the port got Juro blocks. The Glacial Fisher out as well. The Elder secured as KT. They get it, and Dogdamp, it's flashing forward. Ruler.
Nice on your Ruler.
Longer. KT clean up the fight.
Hopefully
and now march down mid.
After this,
KT! I can't believe it! The roller coaster is not done yet! Peter was right! We're going up! Up! Up!
In the most unbelievable World Semis, no one thought they could do it!
KT, all the years, all the tears, all the fears forgotten. It is one step closer to the promised land. As we see no defense available for GenG. KT are going to finals!